Yes.
Clerk committee.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Hey, Jairus, I will be at your barn on Thursday, okay?
Yeah, Scott told me.
Okay, I don't know what time, does it matter? I'm not really sure where to go, but I guess wherever the potatoes are, that's where I'll end up.
If you don't see any, just find one of my kids and I'll do it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. How you doing? Have you gotten busy yet? Starting to really pick off?
So we just got some on.
Last year I got a whole truckload for myself. And then if you remember properly, straight for not rain, but right after Pedro's, it rained for 4 days. And I had what I call potato snot in the factory. It was awful. I was gonna give it a good sale, but then.
Now I'm like, these are numbers, they must have been. How many zeros?
Even when I typed in,
You're like, yeah, it's just a number that has to match, yeah.
no, but even typing in, I was like, oh.
I know, right?
I was like, that, look at the amount of money I'm writing a check for.
This is for.
They had to get the check for half the amount of air.
This week, Thursday, cause, Beth called Jan and there's breakfast Friday, Saturday.
Saturday.
So I think I'm coming Friday to do the windows.
I won't interfere, I don't think there's anything to pick with.
It's not supposed to. I got a phone call today, remind me, are you in tomorrow? It was fun.
Always.
I even said, I'm calling from the township. Yes, I paid to rent the pavilion and no one has confirmed it yet. And I said, okay, so I'm gonna give you the number for the village. You need to talk to the village. Well, I sent the money to the village clerk. Yes, but you called the township. So I'm going to give you the village number so you can call the village. So you're saying you don't have my money? You know what? I'm gonna call the village for you. I'm gonna give them your info and I'm gonna have them call you. Does that sound like a good plan? And he was like, yeah, yeah. 'Cause we're not getting anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, is that in there? Okay, cool, so I'm just gonna shred that, yeah.
And we told her how much to read.
I know, and I can send it back, wait for her to send me a new one, delay her by another week, and I'm like, no, just take the full amount, and then
When you know, she wants to know when everything has gone through. So I can have it know.
yeah, there was that email Friday, so I'll look at that email and see if it was mailed. Because it was an email, and then I was part of it,
Okay,
so everything happened Friday.
okay. Cause she
There
had
were
called,
two
I
of
think,
them.
Something, there's some concern
I think
about
I
a garage,
got the
drainage and access to the lake. She's taking care of that.
And he had everything, and he just sat down and the ones he had for vouchers didn't go.
No, it didn't sound like that.
I don't remember if that's.
I'll look at it.
Forward to you.
Yeah, she's so good from like.
Sounds good. All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which
liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come here for Banks Township. Lord, we ask for your wisdom tonight as we discuss the things on our agenda, and Lord, we ask for safe travels home also for everybody that's here. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I'm gonna open the floor to public comment. Try to keep it to 3 minutes. Speak fast.
It's nice out there today.
Yes, yeah. I consult the weatherman when we schedule these. All right, we'll close public comment then. And move on to the approval of the minutes for last month. You got a motion to approve them?
I'll move.
Katie, approve?
Support.
Richard supports. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Cheers is here.
So, the county commissioners, we have 2 departments giving their report this week at our meeting. The first one is the Veterans Affairs. We have 1,553 veterans in Antrim County. And the other one is Animal Control. And last year, they received 599 complaints. They gave 400 warnings, and they issued 7 tickets. And we have recently approved new fencing so that they've had a number of volunteers at the animal shelter so that they can have 3 or 4 people walking dogs without having dogs fighting each other. So it's been positive there, I guess. That's
All right. Thanks, George, Sheriff's report?
Yes, sir, thank you. So the township, for May, we had 52 events for the township. Those of you who haven't heard my spiel before, let's hit the highlights here. So only 2 of those are car door accidents. We had 1 conservation DNR complaint. We had investigated 1 death. 1 fraud complaint. We had 3 brush grass fires. And assisted on 12 medical calls, 1 drunk driving arrest, 1 personal injury, property damage accident, and 13 traffic stops, and 1 warrant arrest. So pretty quiet for the township for May this last month. So, you have any questions?
The state numbers too? The state?
No, these are just ours.
Just you guys?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you
you, sir.
very much. Yeah, appreciate it, George.
Yes, sir.
All right, treasurer's report?
Yeah, we had a healthy amount of cash inflow, this month in the state of Michigan. We got Metro Act money that goes into the roads. That's almost $8,000. Personal property tax from the state for roads in general. We got a reimbursement from 2021 for the fire department for an activation fee for the pagers. So
Unfortunately,
yeah.
that $1,500 is what, half of what it was then?
No interest, we didn't get interest, but apparently they just audited their books and
Okay.
decided that we overpaid, so we just got that in, so we had to look up the check and see what it
That
was for.
from the
So we got
state
that.
probably?
Yeah.
From the state, okay, from our 800 megahertz system?
Yeah, $1,500 came back from the fire,
Okay.
so, let's see, anything in the bills that's out of the ordinary or interesting?
Well, we wrote a check to the road commission for 6 Mile Lake Road. GFL's in there. We did 200 yards on cleanup day, which is up from last year. Last year was 180, the year before was 230. The tires came in at $3,000.
Hope we've got a contract with the village, right?
Yeah,
We'll be
the
approving
yeah.
tonight, yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
things on there that have to be approved. The contract for the rec field, the pig roast, and the Eclair fireworks. That's all on there.
Perfect.
and then because it's not on, part of it's on here. So the township paid for the hydrangeas. Friskies donated the mulch, the pretty mulch in the front, and the annuals under the sign. I donated the not so pretty mulch by the hostas, and fabric to go underneath to hopefully stop the irises from coming back. And then I also brought in my hostas and I split it to get different color in there, so I hope it works. And then there were people who would drive by and ask if they could have any of the irises or hostas I was digging up, so that is how I.
Got rid of them, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them went up to the stone house too for the
Good.
historical society.
Nice,
so.
nice.
I'm working on it. I'll hopefully have it done before
It's looking really good.
Friday.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So, that's all I have.
So it looks like we netted out about 20 grand roughly on the cleanup day. Unfortunately, we got turned down for the tires from the state, which is a surprise, so we may have to look at combining that with Central Lake or something next year to try to get that grant. And they didn't even open it up until the first week of April. You had to get it in by April 10, and then they took a month and a half to decide who was gonna be awarded it, so we were already past the day. Just something to think about for next year for tires, we may have to make that a community thing, so.
Is there some solutions?
That was last month.
Yeah, we already paid them.
Yeah, we paid them. There's a check from our,
Yep, for the 240.
for cleanup day.
Yep.
Everyone else for cleanup day got paid last month.
We definitely did better by you guys hauling it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the price of scrap had something to do with it too, but I think we got a check for like $800 or $900 from Padnos, cause they're charging us like $300 a trip, the Trailers City, and, for each can. So I'd have to look at the actual numbers of what scrap is going for, but I think we did at least as good, if not better.
Well, I don't mind, I'll do it again.
Yeah. All right, is there a motion to approve the bills as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, zoning administrator.
Just checked my email, and Bob sent through, finished off 2 land divisions. Those are done now. I brought in another last minute zoning permit, another garage down in Timber Lane. And had a house down there too. Dave Rasmussen got one for me last week. I just brought that to you. Other than that, that's no new permits on that. The rest will be in the planning notes, planning commission notes. Any questions?
Yeah, is it less busy than last summer? It kinda seems like it's
I'm
starting.
only at 8.
Yeah, last year you did like 50 at the end of the year, didn't you?
Now
have
we're
like-
in the 40s.
Yeah,
Last few years have been, but if things don't pick up, we'll definitely be below last year. Just
Yeah.
certainly speaks volumes about conditions.
right.
And most of them have been garages, pole barns, the ones that we did.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not homes.
not a lot. The one was a house, the new one, but, well, it is what it is.
All right, planning commission?
Mostly, we continue to work on the master plan. Over a couple of different chapters, we're getting close on that. Looking at, I think, next meeting, probably the final revision of the whole thing. Ken Lane was there, and he talked some about the soil extraction ordinance, gave background about it and so forth, and gave the reasoning for why the planning commission did what they did on that, the present ordinance.
One that's in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's about it.
all right. Mark, fire department?
Nothing out of the ordinary this past month. Big thing coming up, like, this coming weekend is Pig Roast for the water slide and parade and such, so hopefully the weather cooperates with us and it's a successful event.
Kids love it.
Yeah, it's always in a big hit, even when it is a little on the cold side.
Yeah. All right. Key to the DDA?
We met on May 19th, and we will meet again next Monday. We initiated like a think tank committee sort of thing, about creating an art walk in the village. And, we put in a grant application to hire a community information specialist whose job would be to, basically rebrand and market, all of our amenities. You know, the parks, the tank, which we'd like to turn into a memorial, and to give ideas and step-by-steps on how to make our amenities better and more appealing, and how to get that out there. Anyway, we're actually going to, Lynn Spearing and I will be going to Rotary Charities, and we'll be meeting with them on Wednesday, so maybe we'll get that. And Concerts on the Square begins next Wednesday. Super excited about it. I love Concerts on the Square anyway. And then as far as pig roast goes, I'm gonna give you guys one of our stickers. I love these things. Anyway, that's the other half of our logo. The other half. It is. That's the back half of our logo. Anyway, yeah. If the weather cooperates, I think this year's going to be one of our best. So bring the kids. Last year that water slide was going about 60 miles an hour, wasn't it, Mark? I mean, I couldn't believe how fast those kids were coming down there.
It'll be a lot of fun. The Ambulance Authority, the deadline passed for applications, and we've got 14, which is surprising. We didn't think there would be that much interest. So the hiring committee, which I can get you the names of that if you're interested, but we do have Brian Vander Ark from Banks Township on that committee. Is going to start going through that hiring process to see what direction we're to go, and then ultimately it'll come before the whole board of the authority. Spend a little bit more on legal fees than we'd like, but more things continue to come up. So we're seeing how this is going to go. Okay, keep it tight, but I think it'll still be okay. Anyway, yeah, that's what's going on over there. If you get any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to chat about it. And any correspondence to point out? Okay. All right. And I'm gonna Doug from the Michigan Agri Association is here, and he's got to go back to Lansing or somewhere downstate tonight. So I'm moving that to the top of the order, and then we'll work on from there.
Is this good?
Yep.
All right, so a lot of pages in there, so I certainly appreciate you inviting me up here and just kind of talking about aggregates and its importance, and again, benefits to the communities that they serve in. So one of the things that I've learned being in my role is not everyone, when you say aggregate, what is that? And that truly is the sand, rocks, gravel, limestone that we use every day for a lot of different aspects. The saying, if it's not mined, it's grown. It's either one of the two things that we use every day. And so we are in the mining aspect of it. Some statistics in there. Every year we need 6,846 pounds of sand and gravel for our concrete, asphalt, bricks, and whatnot. Over our lifetime, we need 1.35 million pounds of sand and gravel. And so it's used in a lot of things, a variety of uses in aggregate, sand and gravel specifically, computer chips, glass, agriculture, a lot of farmers use it for bedding, mortar for our bricks in building our buildings as well, stucco, roofing shingles, Lafarge Wholesome up here, they have a shingle division up in the northern Michigan somewhere, I'm not really quite sure, but they do a massive amount of shingle buildings that we use to protect our roofs. Next page on concretes, we use a lot of it in foundations, school playgrounds, parking lots, so just a variety, and I've passed out a little flyer there so you can see a lot of the different aspects that maybe you don't really realize that how much sand and gravel in it is. But what is a ton of it? And that's something that also eludes us is, okay, it is, it's the size of a U-boat, which we all know that went over the bridge a few years ago. 100 watermelons, 232 gallons of milk, 4 golf bags filled with rocks. But I would say probably one of the best analogies I have is the Toys for Tot boxes. If you fill 2 of those with sand and gravel, that's just a ton.
Okay.
So that is when you hear tons of it's not as massive as you think. But how far does it go? If we construct 1 mile of a 4-lane interstate, it actually takes 85,000 tons of aggregate to build. For a house, a 2,300 square foot house, it requires 400 to 500 tons of aggregate. We need about 250, 300 for the concrete foundation, basement slab, driveways, another 50 to 100 tons, drainage systems, septic fields. We're gonna need that material for their backfilling and site grading as well. So, you know, at a time that I know a lot of communities and a lot of areas are struggling for housing, having a local sand and gravel operation nearby certainly is gonna help people build and maintain their homes in your community. Location, we can't mine anywhere. We have to mine where Mother Nature placed it. So we just can't go down the street and say, well, that's where we'd like a mining district. We have to go where the glaciers, as they receded millions of years ago, that's where they put the material, and that's where we have to mine it from. And it also has to have specific material characteristics. For it to be in concrete, the stone can't absorb a lot of water, and so when it freezes, it pops and makes our concrete fall apart. We also can't have some characteristics where it interacts badly with the cement powder, creating some type of, it's a gel that will actually deteriorate the concrete. So not only do we need good, high-quality material, but it also has to have specific characteristics. Transporting the material by far is the hardest, most kind of controversial thing that we have with moving material. If possible, we are moving it via barge. We've got a lot of limestone that we move up and down the Great Lakes. We can move it in rail, but the vast majority, to get it, even if we can get it to the ports or the rail yards, to get it to the local markets, is trucking. And that's the way that we need to do that. And trucking costs over the years, I heard you just say you saved a lot in trucking. Trucking costs have skyrocketed. The slide I have here, just to move a ton of material, 30 miles, it's around $7.50. A couple years ago when I put this slide together, it was $6. So the prices have jumped drastically. Now, 30 miles is what we've said is kind of a sweet spot. And if you can mine within 30 miles of your market, the price of the material, the number one kind of product that we use a lot of is a class 2 fill. It's around $7.50 a ton. So when you get beyond that 30-mile radius, you're paying more to haul the material in than you actually are for the product itself. Yeah. And that is reflective in your price at the market. A lot of communities don't have mining. They haul it 60 miles, 90 miles. We have some projects in some areas that are hauling it over 100. So they're paying an astronomical amount for a product that we definitely need for fixing our gravel roads, maintaining a lot of stuff like that. So that's kind of a big thing that we want to stress on there. So just to move a truck, yeah, as I say, I got the price on there. But one of the big things I wanted to focus on here is, and these will go quickly because I don't have a projector, but what's behind the berms? And a lot of times when we go into mine, the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna strip the topsoil, because we're gonna want that when we're done. We're gonna reclaim that land to something, and we're gonna need that topsoil to help vegetation regrow. So a lot of times we just put them in berms. Plant trees, plant shrubs. You drive around the state, you see these beautiful bermed sites, but you don't know what's behind them. And that's the fear of the unknown. I've been in this business now about 30 years. The first 20, I never set foot on an aggregate sand and gravel mining. It has been an eye-opener. I am an engineer. I went to Michigan Tech. It was not one of these things that I actually ever said, oh, I want to go see what a sand and gravel. They're actually quite neat, but they're very simple. But from the road, you drive by them on a regular basis, and you just don't see it because they're hidden. because one, a couple reasons, safety, but two, it does give us a place to put the topsoil. So as we go through, we can skip a few of these slides, just because I don't have a nice photo. So if we went to page 10, where we're showing there's just an excavator digging into the side of the hill. There's many different ways that we mine. Some of it is dry mining. That's the most efficient and effective way because we can see the material. We can blend it as we put it into our hopper, our crusher, and then we can make sure that the characteristics, because sometimes we'll need a little bit more clay, a little bit nice cleaner stuff as we blend it to make it happen. But if we can't dry mine it because the deposit is no longer accessible above water, we have to go below water. And we will do it with dredging, with drag lines and whatnot. But processing, the very first thing we do is we take that scoop of material, we put it into, if we're gonna be crushing it, a primary crusher. That makes the larger stones smaller so that they can fit on the conveyor belt as they go to the next processing stage. If we wash, then we're gonna have to use some spray bars and some water, and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take water from an open body, we'll create a little lake, especially when we're down there in the water table. We'll create a lake, we'll pull from that, use that water for washing off the clay and the other organic materials. We don't use any chemicals. When the water's done being washed, it's murky and muddy with all the clay. It goes through a series of settling ponds. Once all of those fine particles have kind of settled out, we use that water back again through the system. So it is what we consider a closed loop system with zero chemicals added. We're not dewatering when we're doing sand and gravel, so we're not gonna be impacting nearby wells, because that's just something we wanna use the water for our washing as well. So another thing is, we're not the Flintstone era. It's actually pretty high tech. We've got a lot of computers, a lot of monitoring things that are in place so that if a bearing is gonna be going, a pulley, some piece of equipment that's gonna make some noise, we're gonna be able to monitor the heat and the performance of that prior to it actually failing. And if it does, we'll be right out there and quiet that down, because operations not running is certainly not good. I've yet to find a company that is opening up a sand and gravel operation that doesn't expect to make a profit. There's a need for the material, that's why they're opening it. If there wasn't a need, they wouldn't spend the money to do that. But focusing on the many rules and laws that we have to follow. Environmental protection is one of the big ones, because when we're done with our site, not only during the site, but when we're done, we're gonna wanna reclaim it into something that is equally as important and valuable for the community. We also have a lot of outdoorsmen, a lot of hunters, fishers. We certainly don't want to do a detriment to the environment. But we have soil erosion and sedimentation control for locals, noise. A lot of times we follow their noise ordinances, state and federal. If water withdrawal, if we're gonna need a supplemental pump, we're gonna have to get a water withdrawal permit from them if it's of a certain large size. Water discharge. A lot of our limestone quarries, we discharge water off site because we have to de-water so low in order to blast and get the stone. That's not what we're gonna be doing, what would be happening in your area. If there isn't any limestone to mine here, it would be sand and gravel. Limestone would be way too deep. Air, we have to get air permits, inland lakes and streams. If we're gonna create a body of water that's over 5 acres, we have to follow that. We just can't dispose of our waste anywhere. We have to make sure that we don't negatively impact wetlands or endangered species. And we also have MSHA, which is the Mine Safety Health Administration. I think most people are familiar with OSHA, the Occupational Health Administration, but the mine safety one kind of takes that up a next level, where OSHA sometimes puts some nice clear defining rules in there. OSHA, or MSHA, just says, you know what, we expect everything to always be adhered to, even if there's a slight risk of a potential hazard. They make us monitor for workers' noise, so they'll put noise monitors on, they'll put dust monitors on to make sure that people aren't overexposed to something that would be a detriment last 10 years, we FOIA'd MSHA field office and said, how many times has a worker been exposed, overexposed to the permissible levels of silica in their mining operation? It has been 0. There is absolutely no record of an overexposure of silica to the worker. And so communities are like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be a detriment. The person right there within the site is not overexposed. So then we say, but now what are we gonna have? And there's no doubt, there's noisy if we're gonna be crushing. You get right next to that crusher, it's noisy. But the noise dissipates very, very quickly, especially by the time we get a berm, some other pieces of, or stockpiles of material. Once you're at the property line, a lot of times I will hear crickets. We take a lot of legislators out. And most of the time, if it's not the passing car that goes by, you're hearing crickets. It's not a super loud operation throughout that when you're far away. Next to it, absolutely. But reclamation, this is just kind of some examples of locations around the state that have been once sand and gravel operations, are now beautiful subdivisions in Grand Rapids. And this one, if you look in the upper left corner of that Grand Rapids 100th Street, you will see an active sand and gravel operation out there. That subdivision moved in while they were mining across the street. So this was a sand and gravel operation. They reclaimed it into a subdivision. The company moved across the street, and this community absolutely loves it. These are $500,000 homes, absolutely gorgeous, and walking around that subdivision, you have no idea you're buying an active sand and gravel operation. Again, just some other ones, subdivisions down in Kent County. We have RV resorts. That's one that some of our members have done, is said, you know what, we still have a nice lake, let's have an RV resort. Golf courses, ball fields, these are just awesome areas that have been reclaimed, and sometimes we go to, back to farm field. If it was farm in the beginning, we can just lower the elevation down, we put the topsoil back on, and farmers are really good, they will regrow crops the very next year and get that back and going. So safety, almost done here, but safety is very important to us. A lot of these companies have second and third tier generation family members working in the company. So that again just says we want to make sure that, you know, we keep everybody safe so that they go home at the end of the night. But then really, what are some of the benefits of having them in your community? Obviously, job creation. It's a good paying job. These positions are certainly going to be able to put some good food and a good lifestyle for the individuals working there. Local governments, you're going to get a tax revenue based on property taxes and business taxes. They will support local businesses by going out and eating and buying your goods from your stores. Materials for local projects, you're going to have it available. There are a number of counties right now that are struggling. They can't even get it in their county. I'm not a township, it's a county. And they're going to the other end of their neighboring county to get it. We always like to say is, if you think you don't have a problem with having access to aggregate, ask your local road commission. I've yet to hear a road commission that has said, no, we've got plenty of it, we don't need it. They are the first ones to stand up and say, yes, we do need to have it nearby. And the reclamation, you know, if it's not something that's beneficial, it's gonna be something beneficial to the community, but it also could be just a wetland. A lot of sites will be reclaimed right back into something that nature needs. And the biggest thing is the haul distance is gonna be shorter. Less trucks on the road, certainly less emission, less wear and tear on the roads. But we also do local investments, and they support a lot of the local sports teams, the Boy Scouts, the community groups, and they also are very in the educational realm. We want to have more people come into this industry. I think it's a quiet one right now. Not a lot of people know about it because I think we've been behind the berms for so many years that there is definitely a need to have people come on in. So that's kind of the spiel, just I wanted to give you a quick update as far as, you know, what it is to try to maybe open a little bit of eyes as to what's behind the berm, but also kind of where we stand. So I'm open for any questions.
All right. I got one. There's a mine out there on 6 Mile Lake Road that's got, Elmer's uses it in the next township over, which is only, what, 3/4 of a mile from here.
Sure.
And 6 Mile Lake Road's been very beat up over the years, and you make arguments as to who has, or how it's been, how it's degraded. But it's pretty hard to argue that a bunch of weight from big trucks doesn't have an impact, right? And have you seen any situation where a mining company helps build up the road? Because that's not a Class A road, so it's not really built to handle that kind of weight, where we have Class A going on in Atwood to get to 31, and then you can go wherever you want in Class A. I call Elmer's, and they're like, well, Antrim County's pulling all the gravel out of there, so it's not our fault. Well, maybe. I mean, but if mine wasn't there, you wouldn't have all that impact. Have you seen any type of situation where mining companies would help improve the road? Because we're about to drop $250,000 of the taxpayer money on that road.
Well, a lot of times that would be in the condition of a permit.
Okay.
That would be happening. And a lot of times there would be the agreement. So what we say, if we're not gonna come right out onto a Class A haul route, which is truly Class A haul routes built with federal dollars to handle commerce.
Right.
Then we work with the local road commission to come up with an agreement as to how do we get the product from our operation to a Class A haul. And that could be bonding of roads, that could be a maintenance of roads. We do have some companies that have paved roads to get access to it.
Yeah.
We've had some companies that continually grade it if it's on a dirt road.
Okay.
But that is something that they said, hey, we'll work with you on this, but this is kind of something that we wanna work with you, as we go through the process. But yes, there are.
It does happen.
It does
That's
happen,
what my
yes,
question.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The Elmer's guy's like, no, we've never done that before.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well, they may not
Maybe
have,
they
it,
haven't.
however, it does happen,
But it is possible.
It
It
does
does happen.
happen.
Okay.
yes.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Are you involved in legislation or zoning or, formulating different policies
Yes.
for townships or state or?
Yeah, we've worked, and I know your partnership with the Michigan Township Association. We have been working, I think, I've been in my position 10 years. My predecessor said the one thing that he wished he could have done is to be able to get better access to mining. They thought Public Act 113 was gonna do it. But what we found is local townships have been very good at coming up with ways to stop mining. A lot of times what it'll be is we support mining, we agree that we need to have the product. However, not in my community, and certainly not in that location where it's gonna be, because of X, Y, and Z. And so they say, just go down to the other township, go somewhere else, just don't come mine in my community. And so, through this, we have seen operations close, we have seen them stop producing as much material as they have. We've seen them run out of a good Class 2 sand, which is needed for concrete, and just go to a fill sand, which is certainly detrimental to pricing and availability. Up here, you don't have a lot of Class 2 sand. You have fill, but you don't have a sand that's gonna pass this ASR test. So what we have found are these certain operations have said, you know what, I'm struggling. We've had one, they've cut back. We've had a number of them downstate that, and even up here, where they say, I'm not gonna go for that big job, cause I'll deplete all my material. I know it doesn't go bad. I'll just raise my price. So I don't know what to do. I've got 3-4 years. And in 3 years, I'm done. I've got all this equipment, I don't know what to do with it. So throughout all this, and a study that was done, we said, okay, fine. We need to switch and change the way that permitting is done. And we need to go to Eagle. Now, our group, it's not probably one of the happiest things that they wanna go to, big bad government, but what it did is at least it would give us an objective view. There was a bill we tried a few years ago. We call it kind of like a right to farm act. It would be more of a right to mine act. That if we have a set criteria that we meet in the application, then we would be issued a permit. We had some pushback on that, and they said, well, we don't have any say as a township then. So we said, okay, well, we're still not getting permits issued. Right now, townships have you have all the power in the world. If you wanted to work with a mining operator to get a permit, or to have them get a permit, you would. But a lot of townships are saying absolutely not. So we went to Eagle and said, fine, we want to have locals have a say. If we go to you and you issue the permit, then we complete our case to you, communities complete their case to you, and then you guys can sit down and make a decision whether a permit should be issued or not. That right now is the one that we are pursuing at a state level, but not actively right now. We're really trying to get road funding done, and then we're gonna have to turn to figure out how do we get access to the material. But that is certainly one that we have battled, and I get the pleasure of hearing contractors call and say, they're not selling to me, I'm not big enough, I can't afford the prices that they're giving to me, and I have to haul from 120 miles away in order to do pea stone for a drain. It's really frustrating. So I get random calls from not only members of the association, I get calls from producers that aren't members saying, when are you gonna help? I'm struggling, I can't get access to this. My operation is ending, and that's kind of where I'm at, is we'll get some road funding and then we'll work on that issue. But yes, we have been intimately involved in that.
I had a question for you. In regards to legislation, I couldn't find like what's pending. I saw a Senate Bill 6108, looks like it died in committee.
Right.
Is there anything out there on the table that's being considered for new legislation?
Not at the
For the
moment,
state, okay.
not at the moment.
Okay, nothing's
But it will be something very similar to what was, that
61.
died last time.
Okay, okay.
So we've continued to talk with legislators. We've got, as I say, this is truly for us, it's a bipartisan issue, is really where it's at. And so with the road funding issue happening in Lansing right now, they need all their partisan parties to stick together to try to get stuff done. We've been told on both sides that we will cause ruckuses in each caucus. What I have to say is on a Republican side, what we find is personal property rights tend to really have a resonating effect. They say, you know what, it's your property, we want you to do with what you wanna do with it. But then on the flip side, we don't want Eagle, the big state, to come into our community. We wanna control what comes into our community. So that seems to be a spring on that. On the Democrat side, they're all environmental, so anytime we put a shovel in the ground, we are impacting the insects, the bugs, the ecology of what's taking place. But we also have labor. We have labor on our side. And they say, well, we know we need jobs, and jobs are important. And so truly on both sides, we are a divided issue. And so we need to have a full partisanship or bipartisanship solution. And right now in Lansing, it's not an environment for bipartisanship. So.
Very little is in this country right now.
Right, yes.
I got one more for you. You mentioned during your presentation about dewatering, and so we're not gonna affect water tables and things like that, and we talked about the roads, and one of the things that came up when we changed our ordinance is analyzing the claims that are brought to the board. And who should pay for that? Right, I mean, I can, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got I got all this gravel, this is what I wanna do, and here's my engineer says, I'm not gonna hit a well, I'm not gonna mess up a road or a bridge, or whatever the case may be. Well, the township, and the taxpayers, I don't think should have to foot the bill to confirm that. What experience have you seen in that regard? Like, if somebody, do other townships have the applicant foot the bill to confirm it, or they split it 50-50? What, I mean,
So what I've seen through this process is the applicant is going through and they are paying some pretty expensive consultants to do an environmental assessment. They're having attorneys come through and look to make sure that all the conditions are followed. We look at property values, we look at this, we look at that, and they come up with a very comprehensive plan to try to assure, to make sure that, hey, we've looked at this. Again, they wanna be good neighbors. People don't wanna come in and cause a ruckus and be a disturbance. But then what I've seen from townships is they say, okay, well, what we'd like is an escrow to be built. And you keep it at a certain threshold, and we will use money from that escrow to hire our attorney, to hire our environmental consultants, to hire our engineers, to go through and to basically do what you just did. And we want you to continually keep that at this level. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, because there's no checks and balances on it. And so you get an applicant that if they're a smaller one, that says, you know what, I'd like to try to start and maybe do something, and we say, okay, well, you're gonna have to keep funding this throughout the process. They said, I don't have the money to do that. And there's no guarantee at the end, you're gonna get a permit. So you've gone through, and at this point, they've probably hired an attorney that is there on a lot. I mean, we're talking easily 200,000 just to go through a process with fees and all that that's taking place right now. And so that's actually being a detriment to come in. I mean, we've had some companies spend millions, because they'll go through courts to try to continue to battle it. I mean, so that's where it's at. So yeah, we've had, again, there are a number of people right now, they've stopped the process. They said, well, we weren't denied. Well, no, you weren't denied. They said I was up to about 40, 50,000. I just couldn't see an end of it. So I had to stop. So you're right, you didn't, but it was that type of process where they are trying to be prudent with their dollars to make sure. But when they're told to continuously fund an account that they don't have any control over, it puts them at a huge disadvantage.
yeah, I can appreciate that.
So,
Have you seen any municipalities where they find a middle ground for that? Like not to exceed or something like that?
I haven't seen that.
No, I mean.
No. I mean, as I say, not all townships, I would say, are, I mean, there's what, 1,280, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Not all are absolutely no. There are some that will work, but by and large, the majority of them are looking for ways to say no. And they've been very clever in doing this. We've had some smaller borrow pits get opened up over the years, where
What's
a borrow pit would be like a farmer.
Okay.
Like, I'm just gonna go in and I need bedding, or I'm just gonna go into my little area and maybe do a little landscaping stone here and there, but certainly not construction grade processing, making sure that we have it available.
Right.
Which truly impacts communities in a very negative way.
So I wanna follow up on it, Alex. I think the question is more, if an applicant does, like you said, hires a consultant attorney and everybody and tries to make sure everything's in order, what happens if there is disinformation, fraud, something,
Good question.
something that is wrong with the application?
Sure.
Then what happens?
Well, yeah, and agreed, if there is fraud, if someone's lying, if they've done something, they should have their permit revoked. It should be stopped, and especially fraud, then done. But if there's something that was maybe miscalculated, misthought thought, then we gotta fix the problem and get it resolved prior to any more mining taking place. I've seen some communities where if they think the groundwater or their well was disturbed, they'll go put in a new one. We've been working with Eagle pretty closely now with that whole distribution of water that I just talked about in that circle. We actually have to get a groundwater discharge permit. Because even though we're using the same water, it goes through our process and it goes back into that body of water that we're gonna reuse. So Eagle has a say. So if there was something that negative, they're already looking at, we have to apply to a permit for them to look to see, is the groundwater going to be negatively impacted? So they're already on the hook to make sure that it's not. If we
Okay,
have
so take that one step further.
Yep.
The application is submitted. The applicant has done their work. How much due diligence does the township need to do to make sure the applicant is honest, has all the calculations right? You know, that,
Mhm.
to me, that's the question, because does the township need to hire consultant attorney, whatever, to check all of the applicant's work? Or is it the applicant's responsibility to have everything right, and if they don't, they're on the hook for it? How is that balanced?
I would certainly think there would be some due diligence on your part to make sure that at least on a high level, everything looks good. But just be rest assured, we're gonna go to Eagle for a lot of, like, all of our environmental permits. So we're gonna have noise requirements for, well, the workers, we're gonna have dust. If, as I say, the groundwater, the discharge type thing, if we pull water up, if we had to use a pump to supplement maybe evaporation, or in spring startup, if the lake wasn't quite at the level that we needed, and we needed to pull water, just like an irrigation pump at a farm, a pivot, we could pull it up, turn it off, but Eagle, we would still get a permit from Eagle to do that. And they are making sure that we're not being negatively impacting nearby waterways as well. So the big picture is kind of, okay, let's make sure where this is at, aesthetics, make sure it's gonna fit in. Let's talk about the hours of operation, let's talk about setbacks, things like that. But from an environmental perspective, we have to go to Eagle,
When you say we, who do you mean?
the operator, the producer.
Okay,
The one that you would be issuing a permit to that would be operating that
okay. So
line.
the producer has to have those state level permits?
Yes.
Okay.
And Eagle's been coming out doing inspections. So I'd say our environmental committee is probably one of the most active, and we talk about what's taking place. And they do come out and make sure that the air, that there isn't fugitive dust leaving sites. If it is, we have to water our internal haul routes better. Normally, we don't have anything blowing off of piles. It's actually, since it is a bigger particle, even though it looks small, it's not enough to really airborne. The biggest dust is just from the trucks running on the internal haul roads, because those aren't paved. Be like a dirt road.
Any questions?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thanks for coming, Doug, appreciate it.
So you all have my card. If you
Yep.
wanna get a hold of me or anything, I appreciate it, but I'm heading back to Lansing, so thank you.
Safe
Thank
travels.
you.
Thank you.
All right, so we were, you guys all know this, we got a memo from our attorneys, about 5 o'clock this afternoon, which is, I don't know if you guys actually got a chance to read it, but, I would entertain a motion to go into a closed session with Nicole, Bissett from our attorney's office.
I'll support that.
Okay. All right, I'll make the motion, Katie supports it, that works.
I guess I would ask the question, why, I haven't gone in closed session before, so I'm just wondering why we do it.
the,
Procedure.
yeah, you have to, the procedure part, correct me if I'm wrong here, Nicole, you make a motion to do it
So,
and vote on it.
I would have you amend your motion to,
Okay.
state that you're gonna discuss a attorney-client privilege, memorandum, which is exempt from disclosure under MCL 15.2431G.
Should you say it slower first?
Yeah,
It's
it's
right
on
here.
here, it's on here, so
Just make
we're
sure.
good. And it can be, considered in a closed session under MCL 15.2681H. So because it's an attorney-client privilege memorandum, it's exempt from, FOIA, and you're able to talk about it in a closed session because it's your attorney's opinion. You'll have to do a roll call vote. You need 2/3 majority, so 4 of you need to vote to go yes into closed session. Because you have 4 to 5. And if the township chooses so, you can talk about it in open session as well. That's up to you.
The only reason is because it's a attorney-client privilege. Then we can cut, we can go talk about it, come back out here and talk about it all over again, that's fine too.
If there's no motions made, no decisions made in closed session, we're just discussing it, and then when we come out, any motion or decision will be made in open session with discussion.
Further questions or discussion on that? In which case I'll do a roll call vote, Richard?
Yes.
Okay. Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Julie?
Yes.
And Kate?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go in there for just a minute. You guys can always.
Should be like the minutes and stuff should be recorded in that, right?
You'll have a second set of minutes, in closed session, and you'll have to put those where
Give
you're.
us a few minutes, I don't think this will take very long, everybody.
Your closed session minutes, for the next meeting. Done.
Do you need,
Mine's unlocked, no, but my office is unlocked.
I've got keys, hold on.
He retired too.
Oh, okay.
We have a choice to go somewhere else, so we stayed.
Okay.
Can't get up fast, they used to be so short.
Yeah.
A while
They
years
don't
back.
have,
Pardon me?
if they don't all have chairs, it'll be quicker.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Are you here for this?
This has been a years, it's been a years long thing, but I mean, the members have changed over the time.
Can they stop?
So it sounds like Eagle has to get involved then if the applicant so.
You think
You read
all
through
the
that.
places that were
Read through
gravel
that,
pits that aren't,
if your mom used
and
to.
I know a lot of it in
Oh,
Banks
it's
Township,
complicated.
and you can't even
I
tell
don't
they
think
were
it's gonna
there.
be any more restricted.
And
I don't know, I was inside all day long. I think I went outside for, it was like an hour and a half, and the whole time I was hauling mulch and sweating like crazy. Was it hot out there? Or was I just working hard?
Harbor Springs is 82 today.
Wow. That's all right. Well, I'm really concerned about it. It's supposed to thunderstorm on our party.
Well, hopefully it just comes, sometimes our summer storms come and it's not.
Yeah. Or if we just wait till Sunday. We just get pushed
Now
out.
they don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
I think last Halloween they had like a party, that was their.
It was, yeah.
They were out.
Up here,
Yeah.
the same.
Or
10 minutes,
change
going
everything.
out in the morning, on some people.
I hope so.
Essays.
Yeah.
You kind of.
Everyone's, well, it's supposed to rain. What are we gonna do if it rains? We have no alternative. We have
Fewer
no,
people,
yeah.
but still do it.
We don't have a backup.
No, the water slide, those kids, you're not gonna stop.
Well, one year we did have to cancel the water slide. The fire department actually made the call. They said, they'll all die. It was like 55 degrees. And the water that comes out of the lake is cold. They use that water. And yeah, they waited like 3 weeks and then they did it. But we didn't advertise it at all. I mean, it was like they just said, oh, we're gonna do the water slide. And they went out there and did it.
remember my dad just they put her down to the,
No, I'm always,
just that
fill
very
pools
first
with
row of
lake
houses.
water, lake water's
So where
about
do you
55,
have
that's
to-
like 52,
Where do
55,
you put your garden?
so I fill pools.
That's why I got,
Yeah.
you know,
Like, the pool's not like,
well,
Oh, yeah.
literally by Monday, like speaking to
pouring on that gas, they made it grow.
Quickly.
that much water.
Yeah,
to
that
grow.
is.
That's something
Happens like,
Yeah.
how it's been that rate, 10 degrees by
That's
now.
why, yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Trillion,
Well,
I'm talking lakes.
I was telling George, I said, last summer, we were out on George on a boat, 90-degree day. But while the boat was moving, and I'm not talking about flying, it's a pontoon for goodness sake, well, I was told, I had to put my shirt on, it was freezing. 90 degrees, but yesterday, it was 77 degrees, and it was just as comfortable as can be on the same lake, going the same speed. So it's gotta be the cold coming from, but I don't get it.
But they would,
Yeah.
which is really helpful. Actually no, they were eating the
You know,
tomatoes.
back then they
So you've
wanted
heard
us
cover for Julie?
to pay them.
Yeah,
Just
she's
like
she's down taking care of Brian at the time.
Yeah, there's some
Lockdowns,
nutrient,
we
there's
just
mineral they're missing. in
Yeah,
the
she
ground.
was going back and forth there for a while.
Last year, my oldest daughter was
Maybe
That's
come
when
on.
the advisory committee first started. And
Friend for life, and she's
And
been
so,
so she got
$5,000 a year with our,
Oh.
what was it, $500,000 bill?
Oh.
Anyway, it cost us $250,000.
They were very, very entertaining.
But it's a different,
Yeah.
we don't
And
do
Banks
that.
Township hardly knows this thing, and even last time I've ever been on. And then, if you go down there and you look a little shady, like Dudley did in his own truck down there,
Yeah.
did the job.
Yeah, you know, stuff, like life, we don't just sit around and watch TV.
Yeah.
I said, no,
You
it's
can,
not.
Let her friends do that.
you can spend all evening calling, won't you?
Exactly, yeah. I joke, I go to work, I go, I've been cutting wood, getting
I
ready
said,
for
you
winter,
have no
like,
reason to be here.
you need to go.
So if
We
they
don't
don't
even
want
want
anybody there.
Get ready for what?
All the time, I said, abandoned, abandoned.
No, there's always something to do when you let it happen, you
Yep.
know?
Get yourself.
I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I gotta mow my lawn,
Yeah.
but it's all,
Association.
I don't know, it's only four, this is the fourth summer I've had it.
Thing about
And every single time I go to start it,
it's gonna
the
take
battery's
that
dead,
as a
so I need a new battery. How can I 4 years do I need a new battery? What brought
Oh, I've
that?
had that battery in years, battery's just junk anymore. I've had
I don't know.
$120 battery, I haven't worn it in years. But here's the thing, like my lawnmower, if you look in there, it's the headlight also has 2 wires in it. Sometimes they start getting rid of stuff. Like there's 2 wires.
No, what happened?
We started the headlight.
Most of the guys I was on.
Okay.
We had pretty good.
Yeah, well, we aren't mowing at night, oh, do you mow at night?
I told my neighbors, I said,
Story
you know,
was
Wednesday
just
night.
because there, it was, trying to.
Well, yeah, I heard right after
Yeah,
You gotta mow all weekend. I want the mowing done before Friday.
that's right.
Good thing I'm not. I'm mowing outside of town. No, but they're, that's sometimes it's sponsored to see,
Yeah.
like drainage.
Right, and I've noticed, it looks like somebody is messing with the key, and so I thought maybe it wasn't, it hasn't been turned all the way off.
Gets goofy is.
Yeah.
To hire
Yep.
an ambulance
It-
director.
Like mine, I didn't turn it. Mine's like this head.
For sure.
Mine just barely, I had the numbers,
Well,
I didn't turn it.
Yes.
But the thing is, since we, I don't know, maybe it's draining each time, because I was gonna say, we charged it up, and then we mowed last summer.
Like charging battery, oh, I hate that.
Every single
I want
time.
it, I just want it. mowed.
So do I go and buy a battery charger, or do I get a new battery?
Many places around.
How long
So
has
the
it
thing
been?
can't get drained, pardon me?
Like 4 years since you bought a battery?
Well, it's brand new, I mean, the whole machine is
Yeah,
brand
but
new,
it's
this is the
for-
4th summer
I
I've
get your battery. I just say, I've had such bad luck with them.
It's just so,
They're not cheap anymore.
it's just better, everything needs repair.
No, I know, I hit a deer to hold my car, so I have a car.
Yeah.
My work phone battery died, I have a work phone after Monday. And then my personal phone settled, so they don't,
Yeah,
so that,
but the 7 was the good one.
man, that was last night. I
Yeah,
had some
yeah.
And then they're like, no more, so I have
Yeah.
no cell phone, I don't have a car. I'm trying to think,
over
I
there.
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
I don't have to put a battery in the car. I'm like,
Let's just get off grid altogether.
Fiery.
I'll tell you, it's
and everyone
tempting.
has a phone. I'm gonna start memorizing numbers, cause you have a phone.
Hi Patty, how
Yeah.
are
Everyone
you?
in here has a
Good, how you
phone.
doing, Steve?
Not too bad.
Exactly. But we no longer memorize numbers. Isn't it something how we used to
Are
have?
you running
We
back and
had
forth
everybody in
between
our class at
Ohio-
school,
where's
we had our
everybody
neighbors,
stays?
we had our grandmothers, our aunts, it all was in our head.
So you make
And
some
now-
trips to Indiana?
The kid, the daughter I
my
call
wife.
every day, 8
Yeah.
times a
Going
day, I
down,
don't
gonna
know
bring
her
the
number,
kids
I just
back.
hit
Amber's got
the button.
some kind of thing in Oregon for a week, so. She's the senior, architect at Purdue.
Oh, well. No, cause she does historical architecture, yeah?
She did back then, but she worked at, Georgia Tech first, and she kinda got away from that. Before, when she was at other, she'd be redoing courthouses and stuff throughout Georgia, but since she started at Georgia Tech, it was mostly architect around the campus, and now she's a senior architect. They're building a new campus in Indianapolis, and new
I
buildings
thought you
and
could only
stuff.
go into closed session if you
So
were talking like about
she's
your-
got a 9-person team, and, then they hire big firms to do the acting, then they oversee it.
Be good to know.
So, I'm pretty proud of that little girl.
I would imagine, from little old Ellsworth, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good, so the grandkids come up for little stretches then. One of them should be like driving age by now, yeah.
He will get his license in September, he just turned 16, it's different down there. But, yeah, but he's in football, he's in basketball, he's in AAU basketball, he's in 7-on-7 football camps. If he was any busier, he'd have to hire help.
Oh, well, that's how you keep them out of trouble though, right? That's what we
guess.
always said. It didn't work, but,
Oh, he's a pretty good kid.
oh,
His
that's.
sister, I'm not sure. She's kind of a different one.
Good, well, it's fun to have him around, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, there's it, yeah. But then I see they got divorced, so that works into it. He's got him sometimes.
Oh, yeah, sure. And is he still in Atlanta? Or
I'm not
Georgia?
completely sure. I think he's got a house in Indianapolis, but he might, I don't know where, if he works from there or if he goes back to Atlanta, I don't know.
Okay. Well, so she's going out to Oregon for work related.
Oh, she's going all over the time, different colleges. One time she went to Notre Dame and went through their whole athletic complexes and stuff. I think they were thinking of redoing the football stadium at that time, I don't know. She's on the road, in the air.
Oh, good for her. She must be very good at it if she's working at that level.
She didn't get it from me, her mother.
Somebody.
I keep trying to figure out what Kendra's boy's name is. Luke always tells me, how do you say it?
Othniel.
Say it again?
I'll write it for you.
Othniel?
Mm-hmm.
Just call him Neil.
Yeah.
Othniel, there you go.
Yeah.
Of course, can't remember nothing.
You got new suspenders.
Huh?
You got new suspenders.
Yeah.
Those others just gave out on you, huh?
Well, I didn't like the snaps flopping off all the time, so
Yep.
these don't unhook.
I think I'm gonna go home.
Oh, I might as well too.
I think I got some hay to chop yet tonight.
Oh,
Really?
I'd like people to.
You guys blow my mind. I'm like,
I'd really like people to realize where all the gravel pits in Banks Township have been, that don't even, you have no idea where,
oh, my whole backyard.
well, that was one of them.
Yeah, and across the street where it's now,
Yeah, well, my dad chopped hay for Ed Bradford across the street where that And Drent Brothers
Um,
mined gravel for years and
The
wash
sports-
plant and stuff.
The sports park, all of that.
And then,
Down on, under Rex Beach Road.
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
4 out there. Well, Rex Beach, but there's 4 on the flat road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then right across on the corner of Peebles and Essex where Hugh Campbell, that was all gravel pit right down through there. Mined it for years. You know, look at the sand pit up here, you know? Grant Brothers took that out for years and years.
I don't think anybody's against the gravel pit.
Huh?
It's just that they put the pot, they realized that
Well,
they were behind the times with it, so they fixed it.
I don't know. I don't believe
And
that
that guy
road,
wasn't
that's
really
probably,
helpful, 'cause I
that road out on 6 Mile is probably a township road. But Essex is a county road, and it's certainly worse than that road going to the gravel pit on 6 Mile. But they have no plans of ever in the future to even fix it. They keep slapping that stupid patch on it.
It's pretty rugged.
It's not on the 4-year plan.
Yeah, Jairus has never been ever since I've been on the road advisory committee, it's never been on the 4-year plan.
I think Bruce told me it got paved in 1960?
Oh, it's been since then.
No, the first time.
Oh, no, that was in the 50s. It was a gravel road when I was about 5 years old. Because I went out and played in the tar truck and got all tar, and Mom was upset. Anyhow, I remember those things. She must have been pretty upset. No, it was like 55, 56 in there.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was a gravel road till then. And that's just like up there on Best Road. We used to farm that. And then Drent Brothers stripped the dirt off it. And then they put it back on, and then they planted pine trees. We farmed it till then, you know. One year we had all the manure on it, and Gerald said, we're gonna strip the dirt. Oh, well, we got the manure on it, so he come out and built us a couple roads for our manure. That's it.
Gerald was a
We
pretty good
miss
guy.
Drent Brothers. You know, the way they worked when the old boys were there.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I forget who he sold it to.
What's that?
Drent sold it to the asphalt guy there,
Elmer's.
Elmer's, that's right.
And then Elmer's worked it till recently. Well, it's been the last 13 years because
Who's that?
But up there behind my house.
Elmer's.
Oh, Elmer's.
Elmer's finished a lot of the Drent properties off
Yeah.
when they bought
Yeah,
them.
but they never, Elmer's never mined there. Drent Brothers did all that.
No, they did behind.
Yeah,
my
they
house.
did.
Oh,
They
they did
stripped-
some?
They
Yeah.
stripped the rest
Oh,
of
Drent.
Drent, it was Drent Brothers.
Then it was.
Oh,
then
'cause
it was
see,
Elmer's.
Bruce was working for Drent's about that time.
You know, they
and then-
never really put Elmer's signs out though. I mean, it was Elmer's.
But Elmer's
it
isn't
wasn't
really
like-
Elmer's.
Yeah, the
Elmer's
sign
is
was out
Reeve
there.
Riley.
Really? I mean, but it
Yeah.
wasn't very known. that
Elmer's is actually
See,
Reeve
I don't think it
Riley,
was.
which is a lot bigger than Elmer's ever was. That's multi-state.
And I mean, I literally live right in front of an active
That gravel pit
and it
behind
never
your house
bothered
was
us.
there when my great-grandpa come here in 1899. That was there already then. It wasn't very big, you know.
Well, I know that gravel pit, let's see, there was
So maybe
it wasn't our
if
two-
Elmer's did work there, I didn't remember that.
It was
Because
just in the
Bruce
recent
was working
history.
over here for Drent's when they moved out of there by then. Well, I don't know, but
All I know is
Bruce
I
worked for
bought
Drent's
the
by
house
then,
in
and
2012, and
he
in
mined out there
2012,
on
Elmer's
6
was
Mile
running it.
before they shut down. He run the, I can't remember if he run the crusher or the wash plant. I don't think they had a wash plant.
And I
over
don't
there.
know if there was a crusher there, I don't know
Well, what
how
they had,
expensive that
what they
was,
had
but it
there
never bothered
for
us.
years was the wash plant. Cause Al Vanman run it for years. He, you know, while they'd climb up there and it'd go in that thing, and then they would pump water out of that pond and wash so they'd get like, stone for septic systems and pea gravel and they would get, well, actually, some of that stuff when it dried out, they made into diamond dust, you know. I would almost, gosh, I can't swear to it, but I know Bruce is working for him, and they left that pit and moved over there. So, and that's when things went downhill. Cause they were, the old guys, they were better business than the younger ones. Yeah, cause we always had Gerald Drent, not always, but for quite a while there, we had him on our road advisory committee. And, and we had,
Which I really believe, if you have a business like that in a community, then you need to be involved in the community. You need to be sitting on several committees, you need
Oh, God,
need to
that's not
show
what
up
I
at the
need.
meetings, you just need,
Yeah, you wanna make sure you're following the law.
yeah, well, not that you're following the law and that you aren't stomping all over your community, you know what I mean?
Well, the
Or
thing
that
is,
your community doesn't have an
there's-
attitude of that's what you're
there
doing.
is no reason you've got to have a gravel pit where the gravel is. It's crazy. That bothers me. But you go out along the flat road there, and I can point out the gravel pits. And Bruce mined a few. See, he went to Drent's after we quit milking cows. So,
No,
2000,
is Bruce your brother?
yeah,
Okay.
my older brother, yeah.
Yeah, I just connected you with Tex just the other day.
Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law. Rhonda's my sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
She's the best of
I have
us.
never met Rhonda.
Oh, she is?
Yeah, she's
Oh, what
the
an
best of
angel.
Yeah, you've never met Rhonda?
I've never met Rhonda.
She works
but-
at the foundry and has her whole, since she was graduated from high school.
Yeah.
She's still at the foundry?
60 hours a week. She works at
60 hours?
crazy
How,
amount of hours.
how is your health?
Good question.
Huh?
She's okay. Yeah, she does fine. But, it's a choice.
Yeah.
She likes her job and
Well,
she's
Well,
in marketing.
Well,
Just
I mean,
don't
look
have
at
to spend so much
Tex,
time
and
with
he
Tex.
works for the village like nonstop and has since he got out of high school. That takes a certain personality type to be able to do one thing for your entire life and be happy.
Yeah,
I
she
don't have that
she
personality.
started in accounts payable and worked her way up to her position now. Now you can't do what she does without a degree.
Yeah.
But she's just been there that long, and now they entrust her with the credit card when they have the marketing events, and they have people in from all over the world.
how many times is Tex gonna try to retire?
I don't know.
What a
He
character.
didn't do his research.
I love the
first.
guy.
You know what, his birthday, I mean, we are almost exactly the same age, and when he said he was gonna retire, I thought, wow, how is he able to do that? I mean, I'm like 10 years
Biggest
away from
problem
being able
is,
to do that, you know?
She
And,
wouldn't,
and
she
he
wouldn't
said,
know
he
what
can't
to
do
do
it,
with
it's like, I was
himself.
thinking, yeah, no kidding.
Can you imagine Tex with nothing to do?
No, we're there now. Brian's trying to retire, and it's not going well. It's not.
Well, I heard he moved out and doing mechanical work again.
He's mostly in the truck.
Oh, he's trucking again?
Nolan has him in the truck most of the time. Hauling for Guy White, do you know Guy White over on the Boyne City Road? They haul gravel to Medusa,
Oh,
or it's not Medusa.
oh, is
but
is that
There's a
gravel or
big-
sand?
Big, beautiful berm there. They have really
Yeah,
high
way up
quality.
that hill.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He said an inestimable amount of product,
yeah,
hundreds of years.
yeah.
And they,
Oh, that's a heck
he's
of a
got the
hill.
kind that Medusa wants, it's real high grade so that's
So-
what he does.
How did Howes make out after Dennis got in that accident? Do they have any repercussions there?
No, he wasn't at fault.
I know.
He had to quit.
Yeah,
because
but the
the
thing of
second-
it is, that could happen to anybody.
It could, but,
And I know Milt said Dennis was a good driver.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was. It was his
Milt didn't
second
say that
time,
about
though.
all the drivers.
No.
He says, they sit in the truck all day just thinking of something I can do to make their life easier.
It was the second time for Dennis.
Yeah.
Someone pulled in front of him on
Yeah.
66, and he had to run over him. And so this was number 2 for him, so your insurance company just says,
Yeah,
can't.
that's too bad.
No, he's a good guy, so. Yeah.
old schlep rock. Called him that for years. Oh, shoot.
Well, what do you do? You're retired.
Well, up until, they still haven't took my phone. I was still working part-time for the Michigan Department of Agriculture. When I retired out of USDA, they gave me a part-time job. Well, that worked pretty good until the vet I worked with he died. So I haven't done much since, so I'll hang it up. But they haven't taken my phone, and I want to keep my number.
Are you open to more work if they get a new vet?
No.
No.
Done. I thought, because of my vast experience killing chickens, that they would need me, but they probably said that old bird's too old.
Yeah, that's,
So anyway, well, I was hoping the people from Lake Michigan Drive would be here. I tangled with them several years ago.
Lake Shore Drive, you mean?
Huh?
Lake Shore Drive?
The what?
The Lake Shore Drive people?
Yeah. Back when we first, one of the first things when we first started the Road Advisory Committee, which I don't know is even going anymore, but maybe it is. We haven't had a meeting in a while. They wanted us to come out and pave their 1.5 miles of road that is in Banks Township. And it was going, we got a price on it, and it was 250-some thousand to do 1.5 miles of road way back, God knows when. I can't remember how long it been. Like I said, most of the guys who started out on it are dead now, but, and our little thing that we voted in every year was $75,000 a year, and we never spent more than what we had, you know? So, so,
That road's been a nightmare.
you know, and the thing of it is, here we had a place up South North Church where the mud was so deep that the people couldn't get into the child care that was on the hill there. And so we did what we could with what we have. I didn't catch just what Alex said that 6 Mile Lake would be, but I'm sure that's, I think it went up a little. The millage did when, we may have more than $75,000
Yeah, I
a
thought
year.
he said it was 200.
Oh boy, it'd be real high then. I don't think, well, I could be wrong.
Between
See, back-
220 and 270.
It's what?
220 or 270.
For the road? Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's better. It used to be seven, for years it was seven.
Well, it doesn't mean that's all that they're you know, they may have saved some from last year.
They voted in, I think it went from maybe 1 mil to 2 mils, or 0.5 mil to 1 mil, or to 1.5 mil or something, I can't remember. But, you know, what we did, well, like, we had some hills that we're gonna, and there again, Brian Vandark was in, you know, being the county road boss. He says you gotta do, on the corner of Essex, where that steep hill goes up, and that blacktop only goes to the top of the hill. And then they did up by Clarence Boss's, cause that hill was so ungodly steep, he said, if you don't do something, it's gonna wash out, and that'll be the end of it, you know? And I guess we did the one on Slough Road, only that was a little bit funny. Not everybody was there that got voted in when somebody should have abstained from voting, but we won't go there. If you want more about that, ask Bill Austin. You know, he's still mad. Well,
Hurry up and wait.
is that what, he said there was gonna be a couple $100,000 to do the 6 mile? I can't remember, I didn't catch it. I don't.
He said something like, we're about to dump a couple $100,000 out there, and that's why he was asking the question or whatever.
Well, see, way back, the county would cost share on them.
Yeah.
But
I
that hasn't
remember.
happened in years.
I remember, it was like, it used to be like 90 county, 10 townships, and then it was 50-50, and now they don't even hit 10% anymore.
They don't do anything.
No, they don't do
Bank-
anything.
They haven't since they've been on the road advisory committee. And they, like Jer said, Essex, that's not even in the 4-year plan. You know, and it's been that bad for ages.
It's too, like, when MDOT does this grading system, like you've got a 1 through 5 or whatever. I'm pretty sure Essex is at a 5 right now. When roads hit after 3, what they try to do is they try to keep them between 1 and 3, because then you can, at a reasonable price, maintain them.
Well,
Once
that's
they
it.
hit after a 3, they have to be chewed up and redone, and it's such a huge expense that a lot of times
Well,
what
the
they just
last
do is
time-
let them go back
Let's
to
see, what
gravel.
is the last time we checked? A mile of asphalt would be $250,000 a mile, something like that. You know?
I think, like last year, they were saying from the
I
village
don't know, I'll
limits to
have to,
31
I'll
would
have
be a
to
$5
ask,
million
I'll have to
price
ask the
tag for
table of
Essex.
knowledge, they'll.
Oh, they'll know everything, they will. They'll have lots of good advice. Just get Dudley talking. He'll have a couple of antidotes to go along with it too.
It's quite a crew. Well, I guess I might as well go home. Oh, maybe Ryder's still playing ball. Maybe I'll go down and watch Ryder play ball.
Just what it took was me to get up to go, and then they
Yeah,
show
you
show
should've
up.
stood up sooner.
I should've.
Alex,
Yes,
how
sir.
much money you putting down the 6 Mile Lake Road?
In total, it's about $250,000. There's
How much is our road?
40,000-ish are coming from the road commission.
40
Yeah.
from Hampton County Road?
Yeah, from Andrew County.
Wow.
Yeah, it's,
That's unusual.
that's 2 years' worth.
Yeah.
One was 19, the other one was,
Before, we weren't getting anything from them for quite a while.
yeah, and it's taken a big hit recently. so.
I was just telling these folks, we ought to list all the places in Banks Township that have been gravel pits that you would never know they were
Yeah.
gravel pits. And there are a lot of them.
I think you're right, Alex said that too.
I think you're right. There would be a lot of.
I'm so danged old, I remember most of them. Well, I think I'll go down and see if they're playing ball yet. It was interesting.
Yeah, more interesting than this. More interesting than this.
Well, I wanted
That'll-
to
that's- that was
torch
you?
some Lake Michigan here. I got a pretty good row with them several years ago.
Yeah, that's a nice.
Darn. Okay, see you later.
All right, see you later, Steve. All right, so we go back into open session at what time we got? 7:24.
Right?
It took that clock
Like
and
it's
it's
just empty wall.
instinctual, you just,
Doesn't tell me anything.
you need to get.
All right, so after the discussion with our attorney, I'm gonna make a motion that we deny the amendments to the ordinance and at this time.
Want to talk about which ordinance you're denying in advance?
Yeah, the soil extraction.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The only one in front of us.
Okay.
Sorry about that, yes.
Yes.
To clarify.
Let's clarify.
Then I will recuse myself and so that there's no indication of impropriety.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
It
Okay, yeah,
was a
we'll-
motion to deny the amendments
Okay.
To the soil extraction.
to the soil extraction. ordinance, yeah. Okay, any discussion? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, so now the next step is what do we want to have the planning commission do? So,
Less restrictive.
yeah, less restrictive than this, but still protecting the
Property.
the township and the surrounding property owners. So So let's figure that motion
Yeah, we
out.
have to be very specific, so Patty knows exactly what.
No
And Richard?
legalese,
Yep.
no legalese in it.
Yep, well, something that people can read.
This is what you're allowed to do, these are the steps you have to take, this is what it's gonna, like the money to the township. I'm missing,
We pretty much got it. So.
do you want the planning
Let's word
commission to
this.
work with your attorneys?
Yes, I do
Yes.
want them to work with the attorneys
Yes.
to develop this, yes. Okay, alright, so let's figure this out. I'll make the motion, unless somebody else wants to. I'll make a motion to, ask the planning commission to develop a new soil extraction ordinance in conjunction with our attorneys and Beckett and Rader as necessary. It should make sense in English. New soil extraction ordinance, that is less restrictive than the current ordinance. But still has township protections in place.
And that's in compliance with zoning and.
Yeah, that is in compliance with the zoning enabling act.
Period.
I think that's it. I don't know what else to say.
Sounds adequate to me.
Is your
That's
motion?
it, yep,
I'll
that's it.
support it.
Julie supports. Any further discussion, any add-ons we need to make?
So our existing ordinance is in place until,
Until the planning commission goes through its steps.
so it could be 6 months, it could be a year. Okay.
I don't think it will be this time.
No, I think we have some pretty good samples that we've already become somewhat familiar with. I don't think it should take that long. It's gonna have to take a certain amount of whatever the required steps
Well, yeah,
are with
but,
public hearing and
yeah,
so forth, but I
Those
think,
all take time.
we can, we'll just move as fast as we can.
Okay. All right, anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Cool. You can come back now, Mark. Done with that.
Doesn't seem right, Mark.
Would you like me to stay for the rest of the meeting? Or?
Oh, are you buying your own dime or no?
That's a good question.
I have a couple questions about like railroad stuff.
Sure, that's fine. Let's go to the railway item, which is the third item in old business, and we'll move to that so that we can ask Nicole questions if.
Okay. Okay.
Fire away.
First question. Your dad filed a 20-page document in 2020, and it was all about the abandonment of the rail bed. And I was hoping I understood that it would change some of the things like the property ownership in Banks Township, and it didn't change anything. CSX Railway owns 2 parcels in Banks Township. It's the only parcels in all of Antrim County still owned by the railroad. So I'm not sure that that was, I guess, processed or interpreted correctly at county level. The other thing is, we had talked with CSX Railway about potential for purchasing that land. And they said that part of the land actually was an easement, and it was very costly for them to file paperwork to revert the easement back to the property owners. But they would do that for free as part of the consideration for purchasing the land. And so my question is, can we force the hand of the railroad to file the paperwork to release ownership.
without looking into some of the history, like
Mhm.
you talked about,
Mhm.
I can't answer
Yeah,
that.
okay,
But,
okay.
we can certainly look into that.
It's a very weird, and I talked to our, like, former county equalization, and he said, yeah, the railroad thing was kinda messed up in Bel Air too, and.
All railroads are messed up,
Okay.
all of it.
Okay, it's not just us.
It's not just here.
Okay.
I know Bel Air had to go through a bunch of it with it, cause there's the walking path in Bel Air where the railroad used to be.
Mhm.
But then the property owners that were next to the railroad owned more of it, but they owned less of it. It was a mess. So we have to dig into it. If,
Okay.
and we can certainly do that, and I can get you some answers.
Okay, okay,
Um,
I'll be very specific, okay.
Yeah, if you wanna email us,
Okay.
and then we can look into that to try to figure that out for you.
Okay, that would be great, thanks.
Sorry, I can't answer it off the
Yeah,
top of my
I know,
head.
right,
So,
like-
yeah, just on that point, just for more information for Nicole, and to clarify, I think some things that you might have come off wrong, is CSX has it still in their computer that there's an easement there, but everything has been recorded at the county level, which is, I think, what Brian was going off of. And what they're doing is they're saying, we will give you a piece of paper that says, we no longer have this in our system if you pay us for it. I mean, I'll send it to you, you can read it over, I'm just, but that,
No, that's,
more or
that
less.
sounds, no, because it actually shows, like, the county shows that the village of Ellsworth owns this section, and then when CSX brought up the map, they said, oh, it all reverted back to property owners, it was like section 11 and section 14.
No,
Was the every
these
other
pieces right
mile?
here.
No, we own ours, but it's the pieces like behind Ebenezer and everything. That shows that it's owned by the village, but I can't find a deed that the village owns it, but they say, oh no, it was just an easement that reverted back to the property owners.
Oh, that's it.
But there's,
Okay,
yeah,
that's a
but there's
different
no,
Okay.
where is that
So
information?
if it, well, I don't wanna say something wrong, cause I
Yeah.
don't,
No, I
I don't know
understand.
about
No,
what
but
it
it's,
is.
okay,
But
but,
if we could find that easement,
Yeah.
paperwork that's recorded in the county deeds
Yeah.
office, registered deeds office,
yeah,
there should be a reverter clause in that, and that would clear up all of that information.
really,
If
could they
they're,
clear it up without them having to go do anything?
well,
Potentially,
they would have to do stuff on their end,
Sure.
because they'd have to figure it out, but if normally what happens,
Okay.
a lot of times the state, will have a reverter clause in a deed,
Mm-hmm,
you know, so they can revert back to the state. So I think that's something
okay,
that's gonna be similar.
that's probably,
And if it was
okay.
done right, at least how I would draft it, I would have drafted that reverter clause in the easement itself,
Okay.
but I don't know how it was drafted.
Yeah, cause your dad wrote it, and I knew he wouldn't do it just to do it,
Yeah.
you know, it's lots of documents,
did
it's
a lot of
20
work on it.
pages.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, reverter clause, okay, well,
and that might be something that we have to ask him and
Yeah.
pick his brain about too, so.
Well, I've
He's
got
still on
Library-
council with us. so
library page, and I'll have a very concise email that I can,
That would be perfect, thank you.
I mean, I'll read you the verbatim from the rep at CSX. It says, if residents wish to obtain a letter from CSX releasing any rights we have to the non-fee owned property, which is what you're talking about, they can email this email address and they will need to pay the $5,000 administration fee. No work or paperwork will be given without this fee being paid, received and processed.
$5,000, no one,
Seemed obscene to me, but yeah, that's the verbatim out of that.
No, and that's their boilerplate,
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
That's-
yeah.
you know. Yeah, if you could get me more information, that'd be great, we can look into it and fight the real lead.
So part of what we agreed to do a month ago, so much long discussion about this issue, was we were gonna start to try to get a little more advice from legal, and I don't,
Well, we
it
didn't-
sounds like that's what Katie's been working on, so that, what
Where are we?
pro-
Do we wanna be,
Yeah.
asking?
have we made any progress, or?
Oh, yeah, got some. I have gotten a hold of 5 of the 7 property owners that are in between the village's property that is up for debate, to Katie's point.
Yeah,
But anyway, from that line up to the potential purchase line, so that, there's 7 property owners there, I have 2 yet to get a hold of. And 3 are a yes, they wanna do something, 1 and 2 are maybes. So they're kinda ambivalent about the whole thing. So there's that part. I had a call with a lady from Eagle today, who does brownstone site, assessments. And they can, if we go through the process with them, they'll pay for all the, site testing
Good,
and all that, and
good,
rigmarole to check the dirt.
good.
And then there may be some potential for Eagle grants and stuff for the capping and everything else too. So there's, and then there's a lot of grants out there. The DNR has grants for purchase and for capping potentially. There's a bunch of more private outfits like biking path groups and stuff like that are out there. So there's ways to get it done, I think. But we just need to know if we wanna go further down this road and actually start doing the, phase one environmental. If you want me to apply with Eagle to do that, happy to fill it out. And maybe that would give us an answer on, what we might find closer to
Yeah, if
town.
we did, well, but if we tested ours, we don't need permission from anyone to
Well,
test
that's
our
true,
own.
we don't, you're
And
right.
so it would give us some indication of what's gonna be an eighth of a mile down the track, that was my thinking. that-
Yep.
And then we would know for the public to say, oh, guess what, there's no lead here, or, you know what, we're gonna have to post some signs, enter, here's your risk, you
Yeah.
know? Cause people are asking me, they said, well, where do we find out what is in the dirt? How do we know what's in the soil? So you can't just, you
Yeah.
know.
Have you, I'm gonna put this on you since you brought it up.
Yeah.
Did you talk to anybody?
Yeah,
Like
I called the
Orby
county,
or,
county soil and erosion, health department doesn't do it. I called someone at the state, I left a message, actually, I called someone who said, nope, you gotta talk to this Carrie person, and this is someone, from the, Health and Human Services, does lead testing. I did find a private tester, but I was leaning towards the state, because again, if we needed grants, if we needed cleanup, the state's gotta be involved. But, if the board wants to pursue it, I'd be more than happy to get some quotes
Yeah.
from a private, and hopefully hear back from the state what the process would be, and,
yeah, do you
again,
know when
do
they
ours.
go out that? I mean, it must have been
yeah, I do.
30-some years ago.
Funny you asked, I
Yeah.
have that.
Did they do any environmental testing on it?
In the nineties, yeah, we didn't know,
Probably.
we didn't know about lead back then.
They built that
Um,
fire hall in '89 or something, didn't they?
Yeah, we bought it from the village. The village bought it from, let's see. We bought it, they bought it 1995. And I assume, cause Donna signed the purchase order, was in the nineties. Which, I hope these deeds are good and we do actually own everything that we say we own. $3,000, 1992, September 29th. We bought it for $3,000.
Well, maybe 2. Okay.
So, Alex, am I understanding this right, that Eagle says they would do the testing, the soil
Yeah.
testing?
You applied for their brownstone site assessment, and they would pick up the tab for the testing.
Didn't
It was phase 1, phase 2, and the baseline assessment.
she had talked to about, getting us out of some of the restrictions they put on for use of the trail and how we had to
Yeah,
maintain
that'll
the
all
trail.
be based on what data comes back. I mean, you got one spot where they might have had a spill, and that piece might have to be capped, part would have to be capped, but the rest may not have to be, because there's nothing to be concerned about. She also mentioned that it may not have been from a spill, it may have been contaminated dirt that they brought in to lift it. And, they tested in 1897 or whatever, and
So will Eagle do testing, they'll only do testing for brownfield, which is,
I did not ask about that.
brownfield, is that like a designation as a
Yes.
contaminated site
Yeah.
versus a superfund, which is what we also have?
Yeah, but so brownfield is a different kind of, it's,
The cows.
Yeah.
it's a different kind of set of guidelines. I think it's a different statute or a different act that created the brownfield stuff, different, so it is slightly different than like the Superfund, so.
But it enables you to get state aid and.
Yes, the brownfield goes through, it has to go through, I believe, the county, and it goes through, the state will then give funds to rehab the building, the property, however, whatever it is.
Do you see any downsides to starting that process? Is that gonna, I mean,
I don't see, I'd have to look at what the requirements of the brownfield are and then what you guys are trying to do, on that property, but I don't, it's always good to look into.
yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, again, if it is contaminated, the state needs to be involved at some point anyway, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the township can't afford that.
That sounds like a great opportunity, and I think absolutely I'd make a motion that we proceed with that testing, whatever Eagle will do that's not costing us anything.
Okay.
So, if we start, if the trail, would it go from behind the fire department?
My vision would be that it would start at the
So why can't
DNR
we,
spot.
right, so why can't we just loop all that into Eagle testing that, so
I can ask them.
that takes it off of us if Eagle tests behind the fire department?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, having
Yeah.
Eagle test our, that we own, because otherwise we'd have to
Yeah,
get
looped into
permission.
the whole trail. Start
Just the
there.
2 parcels that we own, from behind the fire hall to Church Street.
Right.
That's legally ours.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that would again give us some indication, it's not gonna be a total picture, but it gives you and if Eagle will do it.
Are you saying, would we have to get CSX permission to have Eagle test
Their
the
part,
rest of
yes.
it? But
And
that
I'm
shouldn't be a
pretty,
problem?
I'm pretty sure that that's gonna require us signing the purchase sale
Right, it
agreement to
would,
do
it
that,
would. Yeah.
for them to give us that access. Which, you know, if anything comes up, that's an immediate out, of the contract.
But,
So there's no great risk in signing that? Doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I don't see a huge one,
But-
but it's possible.
what if we signed it and they submitted all the documents to release that section 14 and we found something and we backed out, they can't rescind the documents, right? You know the
Run that
documents,
by me again.
okay, so if we sign this purchase agreement, are they going to immediately release all the properties with that revert clause that
Well,
were in consideration?
my understanding of this, and this is a good question for Ed to have them look through what they're actually gonna do for it, for those people,
Yeah,
is I don't think anything's gonna actually get recorded at the county. This is all just in their system, and they have, you know, they claim that they have 25 departments that this thing's gotta go through, and that's why it costs so much.
It also means things get lost. So whatever's recorded at the county, the Register of Deeds office, that's what controls property for the county.
That's the end all, isn't it?
That's, yeah, we're a race notice state, so it's noticed by the registering and the Register of Deeds office. So if they forgot to update their computer system, that's on them. But if we find something that, you know, says that it's gone back to the property owners or it was sold off somehow, I think that should be, pretty good evidence that, you know, we shouldn't have to pay them to fix their paperwork. I mean, that's an internal thing.
Update their own, yeah.
But we'd have to look to make sure that the stuff is recorded properly and executed properly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once we're sure of that, does it matter what's in their computer system to us?
No. I don't think so. I mean, I'd have to double check, but I don't think so, cause the Register of Deeds office would have everything correct. But, railways are also weird and difficult. So that's why I wanna kinda look into it, before I can give a definitive answer, but my gut is saying that if it's all in the Register of Deeds office, then we should be fine. The property owners would be paying more, and it depends on, obviously, CSX is owning it, they're maybe paying, probably not paying taxes on it, but.
they are.
Okay, so that would be an issue, so, we'd have to look into that.
I think we should test ours and not enter into the dance with them quite yet.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I
I
think
gotta
that
go
could
over
be
and
an
do it anyway.
entanglement that's not gonna be easy peasy to navigate.
Yeah, let's see where we're at. We'll just keep working at what our options are out there for grant funding and whatever else to get it up to snuff.
Cause what we have between the fire hall and Church Street is currently the trail.
Uh-huh.
So if that has something in it and Eagle will pay to cap it and fix it, whatever, that's gonna be pretty straightforward.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's only one player in it.
Right, exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly.
Okay, is that, you gonna bring something for the next meeting, you said?
I'll talk to Eagle. Do you have a number, that person that you talked to at Eagle? 'Cause okay,
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
okay, yep.
Sounds good. Anything else with the railway?
So there's no motions that we're just making.
Technically, there was one.
I made a motion that we pursue that testing with
That's
Eagle.
what I
I don't know
thought.
if we need to make a
Yeah.
motion,
Yeah.
but
There,
if we
there was
do-
a motion made, there was no second, you entered discussion, so.
Yeah, do you still wanna make that motion?
I'm happy to, but I don't know if we need it. If we're not
Okay,
spending any
yeah.
money, do we need it?
No, I'm just gonna come back with
We can just
information.
move ahead with that without
Okay.
an actual motion.
Technically, for the minutes, you should say there was a motion made but failed due to lack of second.
Okay,
And then it was the consensus of the board to move forward with,
thank you.
I was a clerk for a little bit, I get
Well, so I'm like,
minutes.
I'm pretty sure I heard someone make a motion,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
then we moved on.
Yep.
Do we want to have the attorneys look through the purchase sale agreement, or do we wanna just keep waiting until after we look at our property?
Why? Yeah, go ahead.
I think we should have them look through it without spending hundreds,
Hundreds, took about 25 minutes.
I said
Maybe, is that
hundreds
what
of dollars.
With you.
Because
Yeah,
I
give it
think,
first
well,
look.
some of us think, would be pretty hopeful that if we start to get a clean bill of health on, or we don't run into something that's a deal breaker on this testing, that we can negotiate much differently than what they're talking about,
Yeah.
so. But just to get a good look at it
Yeah.
and give us your feedback would be helpful. I think that's part of what we agreed to do last time already.
You wanna make that motion?
Yeah, I'll be happy to
Since
make
you got
that
cheated
motion.
out of your last one?
Yes, I move that we ask our attorneys to review that, what CSX has given us, and give us their thoughts about it.
I support.
Motion support, any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pose the same? Okay. Alright, anything else with that? Alright, moving on. Go back to the top of the order here, township cleanup review, we kinda talked about that already, that was about 20 grand, that would cost us to do 200 yards of, trash, a whole bunch of tires, whole truckload. So, that's good, positive. Hey, thanks a lot, Nicole, have a safe trip home. Cemetery headstone restoration?
I have nothing to report, that guy's not getting with me, so nothing's happening if he doesn't.
That's pretty hard to get it done. Okay, I don't have anything else on the township website either yet. Alright, so moving on to the fireworks contract. That was 2,500 last year, and that's what you prepared a check for tonight. I'll make the motion to, what do we wanna use? Spend $2,500
Contract
to
with
contract.
the L. Claire Fireworks Committee to
And we don't have an actual contract.
world's
I don't know
best
if we do one.
fireworks
Yeah.
for people.
They are amazing fireworks.
That's my motion.
Support motion?
It was,
I'll support it. Go ahead, Mark.
I have some difficulty with that.
Okay.
I'm all for fireworks, I think fireworks are great and they're fun but I don't think it's a, function of government to fund that kind of activity. The government should be doing infrastructure and elections and those kind of things, and they already have a good way to collect their funds. They got the volunteers, I think that's good. And people in the township that pay taxes that don't go to it, we're just stealing their money from those people and giving it to the fireworks so some other people can opt to see them. And so I don't think that's a proper expenditure of the township. opposed to us taking our government money and giving it to that kind of a recreation activity that's limited, that a good share of our residents don't use.
Okay.
I don't know, Marv, I would argue that less of the residents use the trash day. It's gonna cost us a lot less than that, so I'm for it.
That's a good point.
It's a nice community thing. We donate personally to it. I mean, our business has for years, and we're doing all we can to support it that way, but I think it's a good thing for the township to kick into. I think they do a lot for the $11,000 or $12,000 that
They do.
they raise, but it takes all of these partners to get that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely one of the best small community fireworks shows in northern Michigan that I'm aware of. It's right up there with Venetian to me.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
is,
we
it's lawful. It's Michigan compiled law 123.851, that the city, township, or village may expend money for observances. It's for Independence Day, Armistice Day, Memorial Day, Diamond Jubilee, or centennial celebrations. And to agree with you, Richard, that, you know, 20 grand on garbage, which is 100% the responsibility of property owners. Your trash is your problem. I think this is a wonderful use of tax dollars, and people love them, all ages.
It's
love
very,
this.
very well
It's a
attended.
good use of money, it's a good use of money.
If they could change anything, I'm only saying this because I usually watch it from the, by the Sportsplex. And last year I watched it from Wooden Shoe, and if you sit in Wooden Shoe, you can't see the fireworks as good because the trees are getting so big. So if we could switch lakes,
Oh,
it would be,
You need a ladder, is that what you're saying? Would like us to get you a
I used to
higher?
be able to watch
Yeah.
it from my front porch and the trees got too big, so,
Oh.
yeah, I
Well,
should
you
just
know
cut all the
what?
trees
You
down.
know what?
So
When
did
I
I,
think the
though.
ice storm did, you might be surprised.
Oh.
The
I
ice
used
storm
to,
took the
I
top
used to be
off
able
most
to
of the trees.
do the same thing, sit on my back patio and watch the fireworks. So then I had to move into town because I couldn't stay home anymore and watch them. I'm just saying, from the difference between the parks, the trees are getting taller, and maybe the ice storm helped it. But
It's a
if it
wonder
does
thing.
come up, I think it'd be just a suggestion to switch lakes.
But could you see it from the ball fields area if they switch
Yeah,
lakes?
yeah.
Okay, I can't, I'm not envisioning where it's going then.
I don't know, those trees are pretty tall.
No,
On
you
the
might have to
south
move
side
from
of
the
that,
ball field though, but if you think
You have
of,
this whole park.
you'd have the whole park, so
Yeah.
you'd have the whole park down there in the pavilion, and you would have all of Wooden Shoe and the beach there, like you would have
And River
more
Park,
access.
so you'd have River Park, Wooden Shoe, and Community Park.
Yeah,
Well,
you'd
that
have
might be
more
a good idea.
access, and then you don't have to deal with the traffic, if you park over by the Sportsplex, whether on Dollar General side or on, what's that street?
White Street,
White Street. The traffic going in and out is awful.
Every
And
single firework across the nation, the traffic afterwards
Yeah.
is.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And it's over
But
in Lake
it might-
County.
I was gonna say, it's 10 minutes, we sit there.
I
like,
think
oh,
it's
there's
wonderful,
rush.
Julie.
Quiet
We
for
drive in about 5 minutes before it starts, come right in that back way, and we get out of there, home,
I
no
know.
traffic jams
And
ever.
we can do the same thing, but I'm just like from, like where Andersons live, we walked across the Drens to watch it, and to get back across the road, they drive fast. Just saying, if we moved to downtown,
Be a big traffic jam in town, but whatever.
Could the roads be?
We're gonna have to put in a traffic light, it's one night a year.
How big an area do they need to shoot them off? I mean, they'd have to do it from one of those areas probably.
in the right now I think they just do it in the water with the barge, so either lake would work.
They were doing it on Rasmussen's Beach.
Oh, they
so,
were?
Yeah, that's how it's always been, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they brought a barge in, is that true?
Still do.
So you could do the same thing though, if you moved it to the other lake.
The beach
think
right there by
too-
the,
He'd have to get
Mark.
what's his name to move his cannon, that'd probably be the hardest thing.
That's
Community
true.
is important, and having
Yeah.
community events is important, and being a part of that, makes a huge difference. It holds us together. It's, these things aren't as useless as they might appear. I think it's just as important paving a road or getting the sidewalks done or whatever. It brings us together. And this place is kind of, we need that.
All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Passes. Pig roast contract, that's 2,500 last year as well.
We did that last one.
Did we do that?
No, we
We made the committee. We didn't
Yeah,
actually approve
can
the
I
check,
comment
though,
on
right?
on the committee? That no longer needs to be done.
Oh.
That since, I wanna say, cheapers, prior to 2020, right after Celebration, when the next crew took over, it was then turned into a 501c3.
Okay.
From that point on, it has its own mission. It no longer is underneath the township.
Oh.
It was for all of those years.
Yeah.
I had to dig into it. I didn't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So I just found out, and so it does not, the township no longer needs to appoint the committee, because
Okay.
it's a separate,
Its own thing.
yeah.
You have your own immunity and your own insurance.
Yeah.
And we did, last month, we did that. Mark's right. We did the pig roast contribution last month.
Cool, moving on.
For 3,000. I gotta write that down.
Someone's got some bays.
You gotta what?
Shaking
You're right. So you might get it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Little League contract, that's, it's really the rec department for the village.
By the way, our rec director is kicking butt. I mean, she is phenomenal. Really, she is doing an excellent job. We are so pleased.
That's Bethany.
Beth is doing a great job in just about everything she does. Everything I see her work on, she puts everything into, so I'm very impressed.
She's good. And she is,
She works
for
very hard.
the rec department, she said she was gonna, even before she took over, she said she was gonna get donations and she was gonna change it all up, and she has done every single thing she said she was gonna do. Slight issues with, even we held All-Stars this weekend, Ellsworth held All-Stars. The concession stand at the school field has an electrical problem, so knowing that, we go into All-Star Weekend and you're supposed to have a hot dog machine and popcorn machine and everything else, and we don't have a popcorn machine. Right, all of the village's stuff for the rec department's gone, no one knows where it happened to it. And when we tried to plug in a popcorn machine, it pops the fuse. So Beth finds a little it makes 2 bags, like right now for the game, they make 2 bags at a time. And we figured out that if we made 2 bags of popcorn, we can sit 6 over here and keep 2 in the machine to keep it warm. And I mean, you move fast and you roll, and Beth is so good at, how do we make this work?
Problem solving.
Yes.
All right, so anyway, the historically or recent history anyway, we've given, contracted with the village $3,500 to provide a rec department. I'll make the motion to, continue that relationship, especially since we're already in the middle of baseball season. But go ahead, Richard.
Oh, I'm sorry, you made a motion, this will be second first or something.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, Julie second.
What all does the rec department include? Obviously, Little League.
Yeah, Little League's the biggest
Can
chunk.
I comment that?
Sure.
Presently, because our rec department had just sort of stalemated, they just barely did the bare minimum, and it was just sort of a flyby that it was, anyway, for years, it wasn't really doing. Beth has stepped in, and she has just taken off, I mean, hitting and running, but she was asked by the village to just concentrate on Little League. I mean, you're going from almost nothing to all this energy, just start with just Little League, and then I know that she wants to do other things. And what those things are, I can't come up with off the top of my head. I know I've heard them, but she does want to expand that, and she wants to she'd like to get that archery range up and going again. And I know that there's quite a bit, and she was gonna do it all now, but we didn't wanna kill her. And it
Probably
just
a good
Little
thing.
League was so much. Getting all the sponsors and all the extra stuff that she has done to make it a really super good program. And I think we've had the best Little League program this year that we've had in probably at least 5 years, maybe even more than that. I mean, we've had more kids involved as a result. But next year, she's gonna be adding things to that. What they are specifically, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But I do remember that she's probably gonna be looking at the archery.
Did
Can you
anything
think of anything?
Archery was for sure one of them. She does have a list.
Is
Yeah.
there, was there anything with the pickleball courts that they've done in the past that was probably part of the
There,
rec?
there was nothing that was done in the past, that's just it, it was
There
just, they were
tennis
just,
Years,
Okay.
20
Yeah,
years, like
used to
15
be,
years
but
ago, yeah.
but I think our person in charge got tired, or her kids age out, I'm not really sure, but then it just dwindled, and then we got Bethany in there,
Yeah.
and it's starting to get back up again, so. I can see it really being, I think give Bethany 5 years, if she keeps up at this momentum, we're gonna have a really super program.
And there's a lot of people, I mean, the chicken and the egg problem. There are a lot of people in town, when there's home ball games, a lot of cars down there.
And that's so nice to see. It's really nice to be able to, it's like the old days, you know? Oh, there's people here. I don't know, how often do you
True.
drive downtown, there's not a single soul anywhere, there's not a car on the street, and it's exciting. I don't know, I might be weird, but it's exciting to say, there's people doing things in our community.
I used to take 4-H kids down to the archery.
Yeah.
Oh, did-
My,
4-H.
my kids were all involved when Pops was doing it, and the thing is, I wonder, all that equipment is still in there, and I just wonder what kind of condition it's in, because we had a lot of really nice equipment. But my girls, I have a daughter she's challenged, and she has nutritional dwarfism, so she's like full-grown adult, and she's like this big, and archery, she hit a bullseye every single time. It was like the thing for her. And then she ended up competing at the county level and placed. And I mean, that was huge because she just was challenged in
Yeah.
almost every turn.
That's a great thing
And
to
this
do.
it caught us all by surprise, but she went down there with Pops and it just became a superstar. So, gotta try it, get them into everything.
No, they're great individual things for people to be able to do. They can do their whole life. They only get to play football for 4 years. Most people, anyway. All right, any more discussion on the rec league? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. All right. The cemetery sexton, we need to adjust the budget for that, amend. Amend the budget, you come to an agreement with Donna for 2 more months, is that my understanding?
Well, she said she would do it for the end of this month. I don't know if you guys remember, I asked her and she said she couldn't exactly remember, was her pay from meeting to meeting or month to month? Because I wanna make it, you know, if she say, cause there's a lot of stuff that I told her on the phone, will I ever know everything? No, I won't, and I know that.
Just gotta know where to look.
I gotta know where to look, and I'm confident, and I gotta know the people to call, cause I've made quite a few phone calls in the last week alone where a burial transit permit came in and, well, Mortensen's marked them in a grave and that's not the name on the card. So unless you're stacking bodies, you have an issue. Or, one came in and there's no name on it, and then I would either call Hastings or Donna or Mortensen's and, okay, where did you put this person, cause it's not here. So, I think there are questions I'll always have for her, or John. But I guess it's up to the board if she, we need to amend to pay her for this month. I said that we should amend for 2 months, because even if she goes to the end of the month, I just felt it was right that we pay her for that.
Yeah, I'd say it's for the month of whatever, I mean, because if you're paying us, the members of the board, you pay them for however many days in the month they worked.
If I don't use her in July, then we don't have to pay her. But if I reach out for stuff, if there's something that comes in that I haven't dealt with yet.
Yeah, we had overlap when we had a new assessor, we had 2 assessors paid full salary for 1 month, because just, we felt it was important that, you know, the information was being transferred and there was a smooth transition, so.
Yep.
Yeah, if you reach out at all in July, she should be paid for the whole month of July, yeah, I'm in agreement.
So that all being, so that was, so is, do you have to make a motion to make me sexton, or how does that work?
Yes.
I think so, yeah,
So moved.
I didn't,
Support.
yeah, we got support.
Marv support. So you're still working toward, maybe we need Donna through July, but you're working on getting totally in charge of that.
the past month
You're gonna
I,
be sexton, not
the
her.
the past month I made sure that I filed every permit that came in. I had her come in and show me what she does. And like one time we went out to the cemetery together, I asked her, show me, how do you mark a grave if someone calls to do a burial? And then I made sure that if paperwork came in, I did it. If questions were, if people called for stuff, I took care of it. If I didn't know, I would then call her, or like I would call Mortenson's. So that way, yes, I feel confident that I can do this. So far, there hasn't been anything to come up that I couldn't handle.
And you're still comfortable, this is gonna just be part of your job.
Yes,
You're not asking for extra money for it.
no.
That's wonderful.
So part of what comes into that, cause I get, it's a lot, right? So I don't want someone to devalue what Donna did. Cause it took her a lot to get to where our cemeteries are right now. And Beth is helping me, we're putting all of the cards, and we have to use the index cards, and we have to use the maps, and we're putting them all in an Excel spreadsheet with the hope of getting a website up and going specific for cemeteries. Alex found a guy, which that's on here, and that would take a lot of my job away, having that up and running. So if people have questions, even right down to buying something, they can get online, see what's available, where it's at, and it's a quicker transaction than having to go and meet someone. Because with the company doing it, you drop a pin, and this is the grave I want, so someone can call and you do everything on the phone and there's no meeting. And then it's the same thing if it's someone from a funeral home calling to place cremains or a body, they don't even need me, they can get on the website, pull it up, they know where they're going. Does that make sense?
Can I say too, that Donna just recently started getting paid as sexton. She did it for
And she did
years.
it for a
Yeah.
long time.
I mean,
It
years,
was
it's only
just 2
been
years
like,
ago, maybe?
yeah, just
That's very
the last couple of years when they
Since
finally.
I've been on the board,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, same. Will you amend the budget for her?
We have to amend the budget.
Okay,
Check was at the bottom,
4 something.
403.78.
So, but it's, we have 80 there.
$80 left. Okay,
Well, it's actually the gross amount is 450.33, right?
Yeah, I need the gross, so I said it was 450.
just put, say nine, you can say 900, alleviate, but they have $80 left in,
Okay.
or whatever.
Okay.
And,
Are you making the motion?
yeah. I will make the motion to increase the, whatever
Salaries.
account number that is, for cemetery set salaries, is that what it said?
Mm-hmm.
By $900, and they, will increase the movement from reserve by the 900 to cover it.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Alright, to, Julie's point, in your packet here somewhere, there is a, quote from Celebrate Life Company. Gentleman out of Utah, who went to take some flowers for his mom to, cemetery site and found out it was really hard to find the place he was looking for, and used his talents to develop a whole website, software that'll, it's pretty neat. It's much less expensive. When we looked at SEM sites a couple years ago, when we were talking about Sexton stuff, we got $100,000 to do this kind of software, and he's figured out a way to do it for $5,800, which is much more reasonable. It's like just over what we paid for a Sexton for 1 year. And it'd be $1,000 a year, and you'd be buying 4 years up front, and then a little discount on that for being one of his early adopters. And then there's charges based on how many sites there are at each cemetery. And then what it does is it digitizes everything. There's obviously gonna be a lot of work involved for Beth and Julie in getting him the correct information. But you'll be able to go on your phone, walk into Atwood Cemetery and say, I'm looking for some Harris, and click the button, find them in the computer, and it'll put a GPS pin right where you need to walk. It'll show you right where you gotta go. That's a big benefit. You can put, like family members can add to the story of the person. You know, if you got a dad or grandpa, whatever, was in World War II, and you wanna tell that story of his life, and you can basically put the obituary on the stone. And so you walk up and you say, oh, what'd this person do?
Like
And you can
with a
actually,
QR code?
yeah, well, it's not on it. It wouldn't be a QR code on the stone, but it would be in your phone. You're looking, and I get to the spot. I'm like, okay, well, I zoom in and I can see. I'm trying to think of somebody that's out there. One of the
Which cemetery?
Atwood.
Ritzimo.
Ritzimo's out there. Yeah. Anyway, I see that this Ritzimo's here, and I wanna know more about their life. You can click on it, and you can actually read whatever the family's put in. I mean, it's only as good as what you put in.
Yeah.
Right? They're not gonna know everything, obviously, without you doing some legwork, but if the family's interested in preserving that kind of history, that can be there forever. And you know, we look at all these cemeteries, or these sites that are 150 years old. It would be kinda cool to know something about these people that are buried there. Anyway, so it allows you to do that. That you can contract with like a flower company, and you can go on the website. You can live in California and say, I want flowers on my mom's grave, and they'll route that to the flower company that's the local flower company, and you pay the money. They get some of it, we get some of it. If you want to, we don't have to do that, but it's all handled through the website, and the money all flows through the website to the florist, and it's kind of a cool thing. You can do all kinds of memorial stuff for your loved ones. But the most important thing, those are kind of just cherries on the top. The most important thing is that we digitize our cemetery records, which Julie's finding it's a challenge, isn't it, to go through that stuff.
Then can somebody buy a lot too?
Yeah, we can do that. Yep, we can set it up to be able to just buy the plots right through there. Yep.
And then they just pay through the website and money comes to us.
So it's a pretty neat service. If you guys wanna do some research on it on your own, and we can vote on it next month, that's fine with me.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that was 4 years, cause I was like, $6,000? That seems
Yeah.
kinda steep for the first year,
Yeah.
but it's $1,000 a year,
You're
that's
paying
4
in
years.
4 years out right
upfront.
off the bat,
Okay,
yeah. And you have all that setup fee. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, setup fee is expensive, no matter what you're doing.
Well, and that was a guess, and I guessed high.
Yeah, so
Because
it might come in a little lower.
it could come in a little lower.
Yeah, that would be like 7,000 or, yeah.
Cause I counted off the maps, and they needed to know how many open graves, how many available graves. So I could only go by the maps that I have. I asked him if it was okay if we did that as just to get a
Yeah.
price out, and he said yes.
Yeah.
And I guessed high. I didn't guess high, I counted and then,
Estimated that, yeah.
yes.
So then at this rate, after that 4 years, it'd be $1,000 a year unless they change the.
Yeah, that's what pretty,
That's pretty
pretty
reasonable.
dang
Because all
inexpensive.
the other things we looked at a lot.
I
Yeah.
don't, like, I'm sure the BSNA
About once
one's
every
probably
other year,
20.
it's like, oh, come on, we should digitize this, and we'd look and, no.
Yeah.
I couldn't build an Excel spreadsheet for that.
Oh,
I mean, it,
no,
You
me and Excel fight.
so, yeah.
It's a lot of work, but I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah, just hugely beneficial,
Huge,
to the
'cause
position.
even when I called Mortensen's this week, or last week, for, just to let them know, hey, you put so-and-so in, plot this, grave this, but really, they're over here, this is, you can update your records, so you have the right records of where they're really buried, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, your map's really hard to read. I know, I'm working on it, 'cause it is, it's hard to read.
Well, one of them's on a,
One of them's on a flag,
yeah,
a great big flag.
canvas of, I don't know,
Canvas
a
advertising.
sack,
A scroll.
an old sack.
Something. One of them's on the back of
an
a
old
piece of
flour sack,
cardboard.
maybe?
A couple of
Yeah.
them are different pieces of paper back to back, so you gotta take them out and unfold them and,
They're taped together.
yeah. And you gotta have an idea of where you think they are, or you're gonna spend hours reading that. So like, Mary Ann was, ordering a headstone for Bruce and needed to know the dimensions of the grave. Well, in each cemetery, so like in Ellsworth Cemetery, some graves, there's a section of them that are bigger and some that are smaller. So I had to ask, like, I'm like, do you remember, I know she didn't know her grave number, where are you at? Like, if you can give me direction from where you're at and I can go on the map, and of course hers ended up being the wonky size. But like, if you can give me an idea of where to go, it makes it easier, so.
Came to get you. Curfew. So you say these numbers might change a little bit?
They could go down a little. I estimated high, cause he needed an estimate from us. He needed the grave numbers,
Mhm.
and I was putting them in the system, which is a huge process. So, I estimated on the maps. The thing with estimating on the maps is like, so in Antrim City, for example, a grave can be owned by a family, but there's not necessarily bodies there. Right, so that would take cost away. So each grave in Antrim City in the upper level is 8, you can put 8 bodies per plot, but there might only be 1, there might actually be none. And there's some that have question marks or X's. Which I'll get into that later. So, I estimated high.
But every grave in the cemetery, whether it's, has a body on it or not, will be identified on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the remaining
Yeah.
real estate will all be
Mhm.
shown, plotted out into
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
plots,
Right.
so you can find it.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm certainly all for it.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we, enter into an agreement with Celebrate Life Company to digitize our records at, with the estimate of $5,800.
Support.
For 4 years.
Yeah,
For
for 4 years,
future.
yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, thank you. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay. We talked about the soil testing, township audit.
The auditor, I have gone back and forth and I've talked to him quite a few times, and especially with filing the F-65 stuff. He said that his advice for a new board is to start off with an audit. And we just have to have it done by September. And he said then, as a board, we have to decide, right now we do an audit every 2 years. And when we audit every 2 years, we are only auditing the year, we're not auditing both years. We only audit the year prior. So we have to decide if we wanna do audits every year or keep it at every 2 years.
So if we're only auditing the prior year and we're doing it every 2 year, we're skipping
Yes.
every other year.
Can you recognize on that first year?
What does an audit cost?
I think last year was around 9,000. It's more expensive, I believe he said it was more expensive if you do it every 2 years.
Yeah, it would be less than that each year, but in
Yeah.
total, you're probably gonna
Pay
pay about
more,
the same,
yeah.
or a little bit more.
It seems to me like if there isn't any evidence of any problems, then we need to do it every 2 years and get one, like you said, the first year.
And then stay with every 2 years. So he also said that if we decide to stay with every 2 years, that this year works better for him to do audits this rotation versus the rotation we're on because of their workload.
So even numbered years, is that what he's saying, or odd numbered years, so he
Yeah.
wants to 25, 27.
Yeah.
I'm open to whatever. We wanna have this audit first and see how,
Yeah.
how we do, and if we need to have a yearly audit, or what.
Yeah.
Well, it's always dependent on, if he comes up with something that's an issue that we need to watch closer, then then we have another audit the next year.
Alright.
So we're auditing 25?
24,
Fiscal 25, yes.
Okay.
One that just ended, March 31.
So to make it more fun, he has time in July. Just to keep us on our toes.
Well, I'd make the motion, we engage with them for an audit of fiscal 25. And we'll see where we go from there, and we can even put it out for bids if we want to, we don't have to.
Yeah,
if
cause
we
he's
wanna
gotta get me a
jump
bunch of
horse.
forms, cause I have to sign all these things and send them to all the institutions and get them back, and they have to send stuff to him, so.
Takes time.
It takes a couple weeks, yeah.
So you made the motion to do the audit?
To engage with UHY for an audit of fiscal 25.
Did he say when in July? It's not the week, it's not the 4th or anything, is it?
I think he said the second.
Eric Collins, I working
At least the second or the third week of July.
Oh, weeks, I thought you meant like the 2nd or 3rd, okay. It's after my tax bills will be hitting up, I'll be like overworked for the first couple months.
Okay, made the motion.
Yeah.
Is that manageable?
Yeah, he'll just need to give me all the paper, so I can sign
I'll-
everything.
Mark supports.
Mark supports? Okay. I'll call
Any
tomorrow.
further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You guys have noticed, but the corner of the building over there got hit by a car at some point. You can see the siding corner piece, this side, this end, Richard. Yeah, it's busted. Dave Harris has done a bunch of work on that building, and might be a good option for repairing it. I'd like to see it repaired, if anybody else wants to, but
Well, just that one little item?
yeah, pretty quick. Shouldn't be too big of a deal.
How about if we do like the pig roast committee and we sell it to the historical society and they can, do their own thing with it.
I don't think they have the money for it.
We could sell it for $1.
Well, then it could be used for an office right now.
Or whatever, I'm just saying, do we need to be overseeing that building all the time? Can we hand it over to some other nonprofit or group that wants to keep that type of service going?
Well, I think it's a good thing to have the historical society, and I'm not sure that they'll, I don't know where they're gonna land. I know that they're short on people.
Everybody is.
Everybody is, yep, it's, I don't know,
Something to think about.
yeah.
I wouldn't make a decision real quick. I mean, that's a good thought maybe, but.
Definitely get the corner fixed for
Yeah,
now.
we
Yeah.
definitely need to get the
Yeah.
building fixed,
Start
so.
with
Let's start with
the
the corner
baby
piece.
thing.
Yeah.
Richard, are you making a motion? Did I
Yeah,
hear
I'll
you
make
say
a
that?
motion, we get that corner fixed. Hopefully Dave Harris will do it, whatever it
Okay.
takes.
Yep,
It's just that little piece of vinyl, trim right there, so.
shouldn't be a big deal.
Are you supporting it?
I'll support it,
Are
yeah,
you gonna get a hold of Dave?
sure,
Okay.
you got it. Okay, Park and Cemetery,
There's a estimate from Brian to remove the fence. And then this is some sign options. So they're front and back, there's two different signs, and on the back is the price of, I think I did 5 to see how much it was, but I get it's small.
Is that for us to put so people don't go to the neighbors, or?
Yeah, they're the same exact color of sign that's already there. So they'll look like the ones that are on the beach.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. That's still
okay.
$50 a piece, or 6.
Well, it's, so, yeah, this sign, because it was bigger, if there's, one sign is, so if you did one sign, it was $59.
Okay.
And part of it goes, okay, you gotta select the kind of, it's the kind of aluminum and reflective and if it won't fade and, so I tried to get it so you guys could see all of the prices.
Brian's one was 85, what was the 301? Was that?
That's if you got 5, I put 5 in there. but
Gotcha, okay.
just to see if you ordered more. Brian thinks we have too many signs down there though. So do we need signs to, do you need at least a sign to tell people to stay off the property? Will it be pretty clear if he takes the fence down? Thoughts?
Is there a trail that people would tend to cross?
There shouldn't, it's very
It's very
distinct.
brush, I don't think you can, I'm not sure we need it.
I don't think so.
Just take the sign down, or the fence down.
Can we wait and see if we have complaints?
Yeah.
I think
People
that's, yeah.
trespassing, property owners complain?
And
The
then
property
address it.
owners want to put up their own fence and whatever it looks like, and if they wanna put up shrubs or signs, they're free to do so.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, we can.
We've done it on the beach already. I mean,
Yeah,
I really don't
right,
think it's
right.
necessary.
And that's what, Brian had said the same thing, and sometimes you get too many signs and. So so the first one would be for his estimate to remove the fence for $700
Mhm.
and to haul it away.
What kind of materials and hardware?
It's wire. It's,
No,
What you
that was
need
for the
to buy.
signage, that
Oh.
was the signage.
Oh,
Yeah. So
But
this
we're not
has,
doing signs.
this might go down, right? He's not
Yeah,
putting up
'cause
any
he-
signs.
yeah,
They should go down.
Yep.
So do we, I mean, we've got a good relationship with him, we trust him, he's gonna charge us so much.
To take it down.
yeah.
And just do time and materials.
It'll
Yeah.
be July before our next meeting at that
Right.
point, so
Yeah.
might as well have the park looking nice now.
I'll make a motion for Brian to remove the fence.
I'll support.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, vote the same. All right.
At Antrim City, there was a phone call, we have a pile of dirt that we use for graves that Morrison's use. And the grave has been sold, so the lady would like the dirt removed off of her grave. Gary wants it moved down below, cause there's still enough dirt that we can use, and then Brian said he could go in and seed it once we remove the dirt. And Alex said that he would take his tractor out there
Yeah,
and
run a tractor down there, pull it up.
That's nice.
so. And then in Ellsworth Cemetery where the tree fell, they ground the stump and there's a huge pile, it's just wood chips. So I said that I could take our tractor to that one and scoop the wood chips out, and then Brian would put, I thought he was telling me no.
She said she meant me.
Take our tractor there and scoop the wood chips out, and Brian said that then he could get dirt and seed that so it looks better too versus just a massive pile of wood chips. And then, the trees along the front of the cemetery are dying.
The shrubs.
Yeah, sorry, the shrubs are dying. They're brown, half of them are split and falling over. So, can we take them out?
I'll see why not.
Is anyone partial to them staying?
What are they?
They're a little green, evergreen shrub that
Like
every winter, yeah, either junipers or yews or something, and they're getting totally eaten by the deer every
Yeah,
winter.
there's no point.
Now, right now, they're starting to look a little better, because the deer have a lot of other things to eat, and Mars Field's across the road,
Corn.
so they're leaving the shrubs alone, but they do look terrible. And I think also, we noticed when we were at the Memorial Day service there, we should, if we're taking those shrubs out, we need to take out the two really tall green shrubs right next to the flagpole.
So,
The flagpole is dwarfed by
I-
these shrubs, and it's hidden in there.
I have to talk to Hastings because the Legion owns that. So and Brian said what's happening too with those two trees, they got so tall that the flag will actually get stuck
Right.
in the trees.
Oh, yeah, there's not nearly enough room for the flag between them.
Yeah, so I have to talk to Hastings because that's the Legions to see if we can also take those down. And if they took them down or if we take them down. I'm on that too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You're on it, Sexton, right?
Yes.
Way too big.
Are you sure that's just a pile of wood chips?
Yeah,
It's been ground below grade?
yeah, I dug
Okay,
it.
okay. I kicked around on it and I thought it was the stump protruding up there.
No,
Okay,
it's a whole lot of wood chips.
okay,
And there might still be some stump left, but the wood chips go pretty deep.
good.
Anything else we need there?
No.
I would like to, would anybody be opposed to me getting a bid, or do we have to take action on it? I'd like to talk to a fence company or two about and it probably may not even be this year, but I'd like to get some pricing on replacing those shrubs with some sort of a fence.
In the front of
A
Ellsworth?
decorative fence, yeah, in front of Ellsworth Cemetery.
What were you thinking, like what they have in Central Lake, what that?
Yeah, a black aluminum like we have at our
Yeah.
market, if you wanna get on the site.
Yeah, yeah,
The Harbor Fence Company from Petoskey, those are aluminum, they won't ever rust,
okay.
with the road salt and stuff, and,
Well, you're
you
singing,
know, those
you're singing Donna's tune right now.
those
You wanted
shrubs
to
just
do
don't
that
have
a
a
couple years
chance.
ago.
Some of them are in the shade, they go up to those big maple trees, and then they don't have a chance, so the shrubs just vary so greatly. And so a fence would not be effective, and that would look really nice, it'd keep people from just driving in there everywhere.
Yeah. Is it too close to, is it far enough away from the road that the snowplow's not gonna hurt it with the heavy snow?
I think it probably has to be in the same spot, yeah, I don't think, I mean, we could talk to the road commissioner.
And the zoning administrator, make sure
Yeah.
it's the setbacks.
It's gotta be
for-
off the
Yeah.
right of way,
Well, yeah.
and I
it's
think it probably is, it looks like
Just
it to me,
Envisioning that.
35 feet,
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
that's where they're planning.
Cool.
I'll bring back some information. Does we're not spending money yet, so it doesn't require a motion or anything
Nope.
at this point? Okay.
Can I take the trees out? Won't cost me anything.
Are you gonna do it or are you gonna Brian do
I
it?
have kids.
You need a tractor to pull those out.
I have him.
Yeah, you need a tractor, nice little rope and chain around everyone and pop them out, and it's gonna leave a mess. It's gotta all be fixed up nice, cause the fence has to
I'm gonna
have,
have Brian do it, and he's gonna put the black dirt in there, and
Right.
I'm just
there's
picturing
gonna be a bunch
him
of
pull
little
out and
holes,
hitting
big holes,
the-
little holes.
Okay. We can have Brian do it. All nice money here. So can I will make a motion to have Brian remove the shrubs across the front of the Ellsworth Cemetery.
And patch up the area and,
Yes,
seed it and everything.
yes.
Shouldn't seed it till the 1st of September. Maybe about then. Roads.
Any support? I'll support it. discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same? Okay. All right, we have a request to make allow a private road to be named off Peoples Road. I didn't know this was a thing, until this. They wanna name a private road off Peoples Road in section 21 to be named Christine Lane. I'll move to approve it just so we don't see what you're talking about.
Support.
I don't know, I don't know, what do you say about that? It's not, nothing inappropriate, I guess, so.
I think usually you gotta check. Nobody cares, man. With who, see if there's another one that.
Look, they already have this.
They already
letter.
did, yeah,
They already have this letter
equalization,
from
we
the
had to do,
county.
remember we had to do Ironhurst Trail.
There's that,
and
so,
then
thanks.
to also private-
Equalization
private
department.
to approve. Just again, I guess to make sure it's not
Oh, they did.
conflicting
Or
or,
that, yeah.
I don't know what it would be, but.
Okay. Any support?
Richard did.
I did.
Richard supported, all right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next thing on the list,
Right on. Sorry.
second to last.
Got it.
Zoning Board of Appeals, Anita has resigned her position on the, planning commission effective today. And I'm gonna appoint her to the, zoning board of appeals, because it's less, time for her. And, well, we already knew she was giving up her time, but now she's effective, she's not on the planning commission as of today, she's actually resigned. And so I make an appointment of Anita Hooksma to the zoning board of appeals.
I will make a motion to approve your appointment.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then the last one, I did not have it on here because I didn't have a response yet, until today, so my apologies for the surprise. But, Frank Hersha is resigning from the planning commission. It's been a challenge for him for 2 years, and, he's done it, but his boss doesn't like that he's on it, and it's just been kind of a contentious thing for him. So he's, resigned, and, Dave Rasmussen would like to work on the planning commission. And so I'm appointing Dave to the planning commission effective July 1.
I will move to support your nomination. Or I will make the motion
I was
to
gonna say.
approve. I could, yeah, I will approve it, I can't support it. Yeah, someone else has to.
Motion to approve. Okay, any support?
I'll support that.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed the same. Okay, and any business that I didn't get to that anybody wanted to talk about? Okay. I'll open it up for public comment again. All right, hearing none, any board comment?
Yeah, I had one thing I forgot to mention
Okay.
during my report. So every 3 years, I have to apply for, to the state tax commission for a computerized tax roll, so I got my approval for 3 years, so.
Oh, okay.
That's something that myself and the county and the assessor. It's good till 2028.
Nice. All right.
I just got a question quick, so I see
Sure.
Little League was on here,
Uh-huh.
so what? Okay, we won, right?
You won?
Little League won.
Awesome, can't wait to hear about it.
So I just wondered what was the action?
We approved a $3,500 contract with the village for the rec department. Okay, and we are adjourned. It's still light out.